started. So, hi, my name is Jeffrey. I am a senior at Lynbrook High School right now, and I'm going to be studying stuff, I don't know what yet, in Stanford in the fall. And today, I just wanted to come to share a bit about my time in high school because I've done a lot of stuff in high school, and I wanted to share it with people before I leave. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about how I had a positive high school experience. Now, before I get started, I'm just curious to see who you guys are. So, let's see how's this going to work. Raise your hand if you or your parent is in elementary school right now. Okay, no one? What about 6th grade? Anyone in 6th grade or their parents in 6th grade? Okay. 7th grade? 8th grade? 9th grade? And 10th grade? 11th grade? 12th grade? Oh no, it's like C. No one in 12th grade? I was hoping someone in 12th grade would come. Darn it. Okay. Oh. It has face recognition after that. Okay, there we go. So, why am I here today? Why am I here to talk about my high school experience? Well, the reason is that it's the end of high school for me. Today was my last day of going to class. And it's kind of emotional for me. And as I go around and ask my friends what they thought of high school, it's actually pretty surprising. A lot of people are not happy with their high school experience. They come out of high school and they're just sad. Like, they don't like the classes. They don't really enjoy their time in high school. And I just feel that's kind of sad, but I kind of know why. Because often, a lot of time, we face a lot of expectations and pressures to succeed here. And in the face of that, sometimes people sacrifice their fun and their mental health and a lot of other really important things. And it's just a shame to see people not happy with high school when they leave high school. So my goal today really is to just use some of my experience to help you all have an enjoyable experience in high school. Because the thing is, you or your kid, you only have high school one time. And it's funny, but it's true, unless you fail. You only have high school one time. And it's a shame if you don't make the most out of that one time in high school, because once you passed it, you're gone. And there are a few things I wished I knew before I went into high school that would have helped me, have a better time as I was in high school. So today I just wanted to use some of my experiences and stuff I've learned from my years to kind of help you guys share some lessons that I've learned on the stuff I've learned on how I became successful or how I was happy. And because otherwise, it seems kind of useless for me to have gone through high school if I don't really share the kinds of lessons and experiences I've had with everyone. So there's a bit of an overview of what's going to happen today. There's going to be two main parts. The first part, I'm going to talk about a lot of tips about how I stayed happy and positive throughout my high school experience. And if you actually ask a lot of my friends, they see me as like a very cheerful, happy, outgoing person who just loves the kind of stuff he does. And then that's the first part, just all these tips on how to maintain positive. And in the second part, I'm going to be giving you some hints about the college application process, because the more you understand about the process, the less you have to worry. That's one trick I wish I knew earlier, is the better you understand how everything works, the less you have to worry about it. Okay. And throughout, just another little quick thing before we get started. I'm going to be giving very personal stories about my life or about lives of people I know, because a lot of the time when you go to these kind of things, people just tell very general things, like, what's a very general thing? Be nice to people. And these things I feel are completely useless because that's so general, that's not specific at all. So I'm going to be trying to give specific examples from my lives or lives of friends I know to make them more relevant, so that you kind of understand better what I mean. Okay, before I begin, let's play a little game. Let's play Who Am I? This is a fun game to play. So, here are pictures of me doing stuff I do. And yeah, does anyone have any observations or anything they'd like to say in regards to these pictures and what they show about me? Anyone have any ideas? Any questions? Yeah.
You play Ultimate Frisbee?
Yeah, I play Ultimate Frisbee. Look at me in the picture. I'm so happy. I'm smiling.
Yeah.
I actually missed this one. I wasn't able to catch this. But yes, I play Frisbee a lot in my free time. And I'll be talking a bit about that later on as well. It's a really fun thing to do. Anything else you notice about these? Any questions? Where is this, you might ask? This is in the Flint Center in De Anza College. It's a really nice auditorium. Any other questions? Any observations? Yeah.
Are you a member of high school marching band?
No, I am not in the marching band. That's a good question. I think like everyone in here, yeah, everyone in here except for that guy and that guy is in marching band. That guy's me. So I'm not in marching band at Lynbrook. Yes, I play the French horn, as you can see here and here. So I play a lot of music in my life. That's right. I really like playing music. What else can you tell about me from these pictures?
California Youth Symphony.
Yeah, that's California Youth Symphony. That's CYS. These are a lot of my good friends in CYS. Notice all the girls are really pretty. That's why I joined CYS.
Have a girlfriend?
Any other observations? I noticed something here. What color is our hair?
Pink.
It's red. We all dyed our hair red. So this actually happened at the National Science Bowl. So this is our school's science bowl team. I'm the captain of our team, and we were really lucky this year to win the regional competition. So we actually went on to the national competition where we were so excited about it. We dyed our hair red, and then we went through this competition. Everyone knew us because we were the team with red hair, and we ended up placing second in the nation. And that was a very fun experience. Our final last place, well, the match that we lost, which was our last match against the first place team, it was broadcast live on television. So that was very, very stressful. We took off our red hair for that though because it was too formal. We didn't want to have red hair. Any other observations?
How many years you are in CYS?
How many years? I want to say 4 years, 4 or 5 years. I was in here since my freshman year, I think. I was in the senior orchestra since my freshman year. Any other questions?
What is the one in the middle? What competition is that?
The one in the middle, this is Professor P.J. Utz.
Oh.
He is a professor at Stanford. This is the only day in the school year where he wears a tuxedo. Every day else he wears a Hawaiian shirt. So because this was a formal ceremony, this was at the end of the summer where I did a program called Simmer at Stanford. It's an amazing program where you get to work with labs at Stanford for about 8 weeks. And I just grew a lot from it. This was at the end of the program where they gave me a thing to say I did the program and I got to take a picture with them. That was nice.
Okay.
So I think I'll just go through and explain. So you already know these. These are our science school, which I find is a really cool thing. I played in the CYS and meet a lot of cool people. This was actually for our homecoming, which is a really interesting thing that happens at the beginning of every school year. There's people doing skits, people doing dances, people yelling outside in the morning. And what I did was I organized the very first music part of homecoming. So before our year at homecoming, there was actually no music at all. And I got enough people to come and play music together. That's never happened before at the group. This was me doing science, and this is me playing frisbee when I'm bored. Yeah, okay. So, and if you notice one thing in common among all these pictures is that I'm smiling in all of them. Except for this one where I'm thinking. But all of them I'm smiling.
Yeah.
So my friends know me as a very positive guy. Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have 2 main parts to this. First part, I'm going to talk about some general tips on how I stayed positive during high school. And the second part, I'm going to give some advice about college applications so that you're no longer as stressed out. So, my goal today is to remind you to always be happy, and you can still achieve success and be happy at the same time if you have the right attitude. All right. First part. I can't see the. Okay. So, first of all, I'm going to talk about friends. Friends are really important. My uncle once said to me, "Be very important. Be very careful about who you pick for your friends, because one bad friend can ruin you," and that's very true. Friends have had a very huge impact on my entire high school career. These are some pictures of me with my friends. So be very picky. I'm very, very picky about who's my friends. I don't have many friends. Not because I'm lonely, but because I'm so picky. So and the reason why is friends have a huge impact on who you become. Because you passively absorb like the way your friends think. So for example, my sister joined the dance team this year, so she ended up hanging out with a lot of the dance team people. And it was interesting because at home, the way she talked started going from the way she used to talk in middle school to the way the really dancey girls like to talk. And it was interesting seeing that transition in her, simply because she was around them so much. And another example is I met a friend last summer. His name is Tim, and he is a very street smart kind of guy. I met him at a bus stop when I was working at Stanford, and he knows a lot about cars, about rappers, about business, about a lot of things that us like math nerds normally don't know about. And I very purposely became his friend because I knew we would both grow from that. He taught me a lot of normal stuff that people know, and I taught him some like nice technical stuff as well. So it's very careful about who you pick for your friends. And it's really nice because once you pick good friends, you don't even have to worry about learning the right things. You just kind of naturally, passively absorb them. Like, I learned how to talk cooler because I was around Tim. I didn't have to go to like some learn how to talk cool classes. I just hung out with Tim. So that's that. And as I mentioned, it has to be a symbiotic thing where you're both growing from the relationship. Because what actually happens a lot of the time is that you're around some toxic friends that just make you more nervous about everything you do. I had a friend from Parker, her name was Sophia, and the first 3 years of our high school, she picked the wrong friends, and she was a lot more stressed out, and she just had a pretty miserable first 2 years of high school because her friends just gossiped a lot, and she was worried about the wrong things. Just gave her a kind of hard time. So, but then during her junior year, she found a really nice group of friends, and they were actually so good friends that they were editing each other's college essays. And it's hard to find people in your own class to help out with your essays. So it's really, if you have bad friends, there's a lot of bad things happen. So just be active. You have control over your friends. Pick the right friends. Get them to affect you, because once you pick the right friends, you don't have to do anything. They just passively affect you the right way.
What's your criteria to be good friends?
My criteria for being a good friend? That's a good question. Let me look at some of my friends and see. Someone that's honest and trustworthy with you. Someone who shares like similar values as you are. And I should have thought more about this. Just in general, someone who genuinely wants the best for you, and who's like not there because what kind of connections you can give to them, but because like they love you as a person, they support the kind of stuff that you do. Like a kind of interesting proxy for this was after I got into Stanford back in December, there were two kinds of people that congratulated me. One type of people that just congratulated me, shook my hand and left, and another type that genuinely felt happy for me. And the kinds of friends you want are the second kind, not the kind that just says, "Oh, cool," So in general, just follow your sense. We are people. People have a good sense of what's good for them and what's not. Any other questions about friends so far? Which is very, very nice to have. Okay. Also, you want to develop and nourish your friendships because there's probably a bunch of like health studies. Friends are good for your health, and you spend a lot of happy time together. And I think back, a lot of my best moments of high school were with friends. Like there was one time where we got to the top of the gym. Don't ask me how. We climbed to the top of the gym, and then we sat there and looked at the stars and had a good time. And that was probably really good for our mental health. Yeah. And finally, one last thing about this is try not to be alone, because being alone is very painful, harmful for you in many ways. There was a period of time around October last year where a lot of my friends were older than me. So when I was a senior, a lot of them already left. And it was a pretty tough month because I just really couldn't talk to anyone about anything. I realized I could just go to school, go home, and not have to talk to anyone. It was just pretty dark. I didn't get any work done about my college essays. I just felt kind of grim about everything. And I just didn't really want to talk to people. And I just did not have a very good time when that happened. But then as soon as afterwards, like, I realized, wow, this is not good for me. I should start talking to people. I called up some old friends who left to college, started hanging out with people more after school, and got better. So really, just try to avoid being alone. Always try to find other people to be around. It's really important. It's really good for your like mental health and your happiness and all that. Oh, and also, good friends are there to support you. They really make you a lot better. Another thing is about family. I'm very lucky and very fortunate to be part of a family where everyone cares and everyone's really like helpful. So I have advice to both students and parents. Which part do you want to hear first? Raise your hand if you want to hear the advice to students first. I saw the students. Okay, raise your hand if you want to hear advice to parents first. It looks about the same. Okay, I'll talk to students first. Okay, students, respect your parents. They are awesome people. So make sure you listen to them and cherish your time, because in high school you really only have 4 years left. I wish I recognized this earlier, because now I'm trying to spend as much time with my parents as I can, and it's kind of too late. And ask and inform your parents about the stuff you're doing rather than just doing it first, because it really feels bad when someone does something and doesn't tell you yet. And ask your parents for advice about the kind of stuff you want to do. To parents, eat dinner together as a family. This, I'm so thankful our family does this, because this is where we just force ourselves to spend time together every day and really get to know the parents, get to know us better, we get to know our parents better, and just talk about everything that happened during the day. Don't just like eat dinner and then everyone goes into your room and eat separately, because again, having these strong family bonds, it's all about your mental health and like your health as a person. Just having a strong family can really help that, and eating food together really helps that. Also, be caring about your kids. Don't think about your kids as, oh, if they get into a school, I will be happy. That's not caring. That doesn't make your kids happy. So make sure you understand your kids' interests, know what they want, what's best for them, and be caring towards that. And help your kids make decisions about things in like a good way. Don't just like push them, say, oh, do this, do that. Like just think about what your kids' interests are and figure out how to encourage them to do that. And I'll talk more about how to encourage yourself and motivate yourself to do things later on. Are there any other questions about family? Because I know for a lot of us, like especially being second generation immigrants with the language barrier, the relation between students and parents is just sometimes difficult to understand. So is there any other questions about this part? No questions? No one wants to be closer to their parents? I want to be closer to my parents. No one has questions about this? Okay. All right. Next part is maintaining a positive attitude. There's actually the other section, but it's too hard to see. So this is arguably one of the most important reasons why I had a good time in high school was I had a positive attitude. I knew what I wanted, and I knew I did those things that I wanted to do. And one very crucial thing, I think it might be surprising for many of us, is if you ask me why I'm so happy today, I'm not going to say I'm happy because I got to Stanford. In fact, that barely added anything to my happiness, because I ended up doing whatever I was doing after I got it than what I was before. If you ask me why I'm happy, I'm going to say because I had amazing friends who were loyal, who listened to me, who were just great supporters of everything. I had a family that really loved me and cared for me. And I did activities that I loved, that I really enjoyed. Those were the reasons why I'm happy and just had a really positive experience, not because I got into a good school or anything like that. And the other plus side was being so positive and happy during high school was very helpful in getting me into a good school. Why? Because when I was happy, I was more productive. I was doing things that I liked. Remember earlier when I was saying how back in October when I was just not talking to anyone and pretty depressed about everything, I did not work on my essays at all. If you look at my history, I did not write a single inspiring thing during that time. So being happy naturally helps you be more productive. Another thing is, like recently I've been just so exhilarated because it's the end of the school year, and surprisingly you'd think that, oh, I would be doing nothing during this time, but no, I'm actually more productive during this time. I'm reading a lot of physics, which is funny because I don't like physics during these few weeks. So being happy and just satisfied with what you're doing can actually improve your chances at college admission or whatever that stuff is. And I'm actually going to go so far to claim since if you look at me, getting into Stanford barely added anything to my happiness, I'm going to claim that if your only goal in high school is just to go to getting into a good college, it's not necessarily going to bring you happiness. It's not going to bring you a sense of fulfillment once you do get it. What gave me a sense of fulfillment was just being around friends I cared for, doing things that I loved, which again I'll talk about in the future, in a little bit. Because goals. Because it's just a lot of people were not happy. Like I said, I'm asking a lot of my friends. A lot of people are not happy with their high school experience. And if they're not, because they didn't satisfy their goals that made them happy during their high school, so they weren't happy with the experience. So if your only goal was during high school was to get into college, you're not going to end up being happy for that reason when you leave high school. Again, I'm going to stress one last time. The reason why I'm so happy and satisfied with my life today is not because I got into Stanford, but because I did all these amazing things and had these great people I was around during high school that really helped me out. Getting into college is only side of the equation. So time management. This is a very important skill that can help your positive attitude. So one of the interesting concepts that I had is I hacked my activities that I did towards the goals that I wanted to achieve. Now, it's kind of like killing two birds with one stone. So let me give some examples of this that I have in my life. I take French. French is the foreign language I take. I used to be very bad at listening to French. Another problem. Back in freshman year, I had marching band at 5 and I came back from school at 3. I never did anything productive in that time. I just watched YouTube. So my solution to that, I started watching YouTube in French. So I was entertaining myself and I was learning French. And I ended up being very good at French, like the National French Contest stuff. I was director of activities of our French Honor Society at school, which involved a lot of speaking in French. And I was very good at French speaking and talking because I listened to YouTube videos in French. So that was good because you need to have entertainment in your life to keep yourself happy in your head, right? And I managed to do that while learning French. Aha! I hacked my activities. Two birds with one stone. Another thing that was very helpful for me. I was very bad at talking to people in freshman and sophomore year. I smuttered a lot. I really couldn't articulate myself. So I decided I'm going to learn how to talk to people. So after school, pretty much every day in my sophomore year, I decided to stick around school and talk to people. And this was really good because, as I mentioned, entertaining yourself and being around people is very good for your mental health, right? And in addition, I was learning social skills. Those are good for so many other things, such as like giving speeches, talking to teachers. A lot of social skills are very important. So again, two birds with one stone. I entertained myself to keep myself mentally happy, and I learned social skills. Another one, playing Frisbee. This one, I want to have fun. I want to do fun things, but I don't want to sit at home and rot into someone who's not fit. See, if you play video games, you have fun, but you don't get fit. But if you play Frisbee, you play fun, and you have fun, and you get into shape. Right? Two birds with one stone. Oh, here's another interesting one. I am a musician. A French horn. You have to spend a lot of time practicing to be good. Sometimes I don't have a lot of time. On another hand, everyone has to shower, right? Everyone has to shower once a day, or else they're not going to be they're going to smell bad.
Yeah.
So I practiced in the shower, right? You have your little mouthpiece that you have when you're buzzing, and you just need to get your muscles in shape. Just sound good. So what I did was I buzzed around in the shower. I can get my practice done and get my buzzing and shower at the same time. And a final example of this is running. Running is another sport I do. I don't run alone because that's boring. I run with friends. That way I can build my strong friendships and I can run at the same time. So hopefully by now you get the idea. Your activities aren't just, be more thoughtful about the activities that you do. Think about, is there some way I can do this to get me towards other goals and do more productive things at a time? Manage your time effectively. Aha. So you should always work efficiently. There should never be a time where you're half working, half on Facebook. If you're not in high school yet, this is something that shocked me at first when I came in. Everyone always works while they're on Facebook. Or back in freshman year and sophomore year, they're doing math homework, and ba-ding, oh, someone talking to me. They talk to someone for a bit. They go back to doing math homework. This is very common. And it's very naturally human because we love like stimulus. Oh, exciting, ha. Oh, exciting, haha. That's how our brains are wired. But that's not good for our work productivity because you get more fun and get more stuff done if, say, instead of half doing homework, half being on Facebook for an hour, you take 15 minutes to do your homework and then enjoy yourself for 45 minutes, right? So work efficiently, work as fast as you can. Another thing I like to do with this is sometimes when I get home from school, I'm really tired. But I don't just start my homework right away. I take a nap. And then I'm awake. And then I can finish it much faster. Right?
Good
So
job.
little things like this. You should always play as hard as you can and work as hard as you can. And another little trick that helps out with this is to separate your life. So I had the bad habit of going on Facebook or watching YouTube in my room a lot. So I really couldn't get my mind to focus when I was at my desk. So now I do homework in the living room, and I just do homework in the living room. And I play when I'm in my room, it's supposed to be the other way around, I know. But that's the way it ended up working. Because then it's really useful, because your brain humans are men of habit. Once you sit at the dining table, your saliva glands start making more saliva because you're used to eating, right? So if you do homework at the dining table, your blood goes here. It doesn't go here where it should go, right? So separate yourselves, do separate things in separate places, and be as productive as you can when you're doing each thing. Also, have a schedule. That way when you're doing everything, you know that's what you're supposed to be doing. You won't feel bad. You won't feel bad when you're playing because you know I'm supposed to be playing right now. You won't be distracted when you're working because you know you're supposed to be working right now. And make use of all time slots. That's another fun one. It kind of has to do with these little hacks over here. Like during the summer, I had to take the bus 1 hour in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. And I didn't just like play games on my phone in the bus. It's really funny. Whenever you go on a bus today, everyone's on their phones. So I was on my phone too, except I was reading papers that I needed to read for my research. So I just made use of that time slot. What else have I done? Oh, I've also used class time to do other more fun things. So a lot of the time in class, you don't learn that much stuff. So I was like reading other textbooks in class or learning other things in class that I liked.
Is it doable?
Huh?
Is it doable? Your teacher will be mad when you read
It
something?
depends on the teacher. So I didn't do this for teachers that it depends on the teacher. And a lot of the teachers already knew me and understood why I was doing other stuff in class. But I found that very productive for me because an example was for Science Bowl. Like, we did very well at Science Bowl, and I value Science Bowl more than like doing well at a class because that stuff was more fun for me. And a lot of my Science Bowl studying I did during class. So it's just stuff like that. I was like physics. I studied a lot in physics, and I studied a lot in math last year too.
So because you already know that's material.
Yeah, because
so
I
you
already
don't need the lesson for the teacher.
Yeah. So because I already knew. But this really just depends on you. Class time for me was a time I could easily squeeze other things into. But everyone has their own little downtimes that they can be more effective about.
So when you study physics, so you know before the teacher teach you, do you learn by yourself or you want to take class some other place?
I learned from Science Bowl.
Science Bowl.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
side.
go figure. What? Okay. And finally, everyone should have goals they're trying to prioritize towards. My personal goals were health and happiness. That's what I tried to prioritize during my time in high school. As I mentioned before, a lot of people are not happy in high school, so you should really try to prioritize for these kind of things during high school. Because there's a psychological benefit to having fun and staying mentally happy and being around good friends and good family. And that kind of health benefit can really help you with like your college application process or writing your essay and a lot of that stuff. Exercise too. A lot of people don't exercise enough. That's why I play Frisbee instead of playing video games. You know, it's very important. Also, eat healthy. I was eating a fruit before I came. It's good for you. And keep downtime in your schedule. Don't pack your schedule up all the way. You should always have some kind of downtime activity. Let's see. So random little tricks. As I said, just have a little downtime activity. For me, often that's like playing piano and playing random songs. Sometimes that's like watching YouTube. Sometimes that is playing the Rubik's Cube. I don't know. I just have leisure activities I like to do to de-stress and just enjoy things. It's different for different people. My friend Kenny, he likes to dance when he's bored. And I'll talk about that a bit later too. Or my friend Akil, he likes to play Frisbee or play StarCraft when he's bored. So have a kind of leisure activity to take your mind off things. It's very helpful. Incentivize your... No, I'm not going to talk about this. Eat healthy, as I said. Because when you're healthy, I actually figured this out. We had a project in 9th grade where we had to learn about our health. And I noticed that whenever I was eating oily or greasy foods, my mind actually didn't think as fast. Like, I was very dull and very tired all the time. And I just couldn't be as effective as with everything when I wasn't eating healthy. So, on the other hand, when I eat healthy foods and drink water, I think fast. So, that's useful. Sleep well, same thing. If you don't sleep well, you don't get to enjoy the scenery around you because you're tired. That sucks.
How many hours did you sleep?
How many hours do I sleep? 8 is that number that doctors always give you. I personally thought that was kind of silly because no one actually does what the doctor tells you. So I think around 7 hours is more reasonable. 7 hours is good. Learn to drive. This is useful. Learn to drive as early as you can. I only got my license a month ago. If I had it earlier, I could do so much more things without bothering my parents. Oh, this is another fun little trick I learned from a summer camp. Gratitude journaling. Every day before you go to sleep, write down 3 things that made you happy that day. It takes very little time and it makes you so much happier as a person. I don't know if this actually works psychologically or if it's just placebo effect, but no matter what, it doesn't matter because it makes you happier. And who doesn't want to be happier? And this only takes 1 minute a day, right? So right before you go to sleep, write down 3 things that make you happy. And you just end up living a much more fulfilling life. Okay, now I get into the part of the speech where I talk about advice to your life to improve your chances at the college application game, because the more you understand about what exactly is up with that, the less you have to worry about it. I was very fortunate during my application time because I had a good friend, Jesse. This is actually an interesting story. My good friend Jesse, he's at Princeton right now. He's 2 years older than me. And he was basically my college counselor. He taught me everything I needed to know about the application process. And as a result, I was far less stressed than any of my friends. If you asked me during this time, I was jogging around school the way I normally am, the way I am today. I wasn't too worried about writing my essays because I felt comfortable. I felt like I knew what I was doing and I wasn't worried about that much things because I understood what college wanted. I understood what I needed to do. I understood how to increase my chances the most. And I understood that if I couldn't be like the person next to me who was better than me because I had my limits, and I was okay with that because I knew what to do to maximize my own chances. So because of that, I was just much happier as a person. I had the positive experience because I understood the game. So today I'm going to be just giving you tips about just things to know that so you don't have to worry so much once the time comes around to apply. And I'm also going to be giving my theory. I call it the Pokemon theory of applying to colleges. You'll see why in a bit too. It has a lot to do with the idea that you can control your life the way you pick your friends, or you can control your activities towards your goals. And so I'm going to explain this overall theory, and then afterwards I'm going to give an example of how it works for me, and then explain how it works for a lot of my friends. Okay. So, the very first thing to think about are interests. What are interests? Interests are things that make you smile. Things that make you really happy. There's sometimes things that happen that make people very excited about something. For example, last week in our science club, I had my old sock that had a hole in it, and I wanted to make another hole in it by putting sulfuric acid on it. We had very concentrated, 18 molar, 98% sulfuric acid. Very dangerous. If you drink it, we had a little bottle of it. It was around this much. If you drank that, you'd probably die. So it was very dangerous, and we had it in our lab. So I thought, cool, let's play with it. I put about 1 milliliter of it on my sock. It made a hole this big in the sock. And when I did that, I was It made me so happy. I was like a little kid. So these are things. These are the kind of things that make you happy. And remember, to have a positive experience, you do things that make you happy. So why not do your interests? Let me give another example. This is something that made me super happy. Where's your Rubik's Cube? What's your name? Jeff? Oh, my name is Jeff too. Have you seen a Rubik's Cube like this before, Jeff? When I saw this made me so excited. Look at the wonder in his eye right now. He's so excited by this. And so it just works exactly like a normal Rubik's Cube. I was so excited when I saw this too. This was so cool. But look what else you can do with it. When you turn it sideways like this, you can turn it like this. Oh, so it also changes shape. And then pretty soon it gets really, really messy. Uh-oh. There we go. So yeah. I see some kind of wonder in your eyes. Don't be afraid to show it. I'm not afraid to show when I'm very excited by things like this. So these are the kinds of things that you should call interests, things that make you happy. And these are like completely different from person to person. For me, it's things like seeing acid burn holes this big in socks, or seeing like Rubik's Cube change shape. You know, these things make me really happy. I know all of you are really excited, right? Some little child deep inside of you is like, wow, I want to play with that. You gotta play with it afterwards, not right now, okay? But these are the kinds of things that you should be going for. Why? Oh, everyone is different. Everyone has different hobbies. Like some people might like cats. Some people might like kites. Some people might like toilet paper rolls. My friend Akil loves movies. He gave me a list of 100 movies to watch this summer. I didn't have time to watch a single one. And I'm surprised how he could have watched all those 100, or watched more than 100. No, those were his top 100. But I guess he really loves movies. Anime, some people really like anime, some people like video games. It's okay if it's weird and not academic, and I'll get to this later. Because the one thing that's important is you have to do what you like. You don't just say, oh, I like this, and sit there. You do it. You do things related to them. I liked science, but I didn't just like sit there and, oh, cool, it's a ladybug. I did things with science. I went to our school science club and did all these demos with people. I like music. I like how it sounded, but I didn't just say, oh, I'm going to sit at home and listen to music and do nothing. I practiced. I got better at music. I played chamber music groups. I wrote music. I did things with the things that I love. I didn't just sit there. That's what I call vigor. I'm going to use this term a lot today. It's showing that you have the capability and interest to carry out the things you love. And the thing is, this is different for everyone, because everyone has different passions, as I mentioned. But it doesn't matter what they are, as long as you do them as much as you can. My friend Kenny, he's going to Colombia. Do you know why? Because he danced. He loves to dance. He's the guy that dances in his free time. And he just spends so much time every day doing this thing, and he really enjoys it. And doing interests, so the thing about interests is they decide the kind of activities that you do. Because once you start carrying out your interest with vigor, they turn into activities. So actually, I'm going to take a moment really quick and ask all of you, think about one thing that makes you really excited, like gives that kind of childlike wonder in your eye, the same way that Rubik's Cube did to me when I saw it, or that hydrochloric, no, it was sulfuric acid when it burned the hole in the sock. Think about one thing that you're really, it doesn't have to be academic, it could be video games. Back in elementary school for me, it was seeing Mario. Mario made me very excited. So share one thing with your parents or whoever is next to you about something that made you excited. You can be as silly as you want. Okay, does anyone want to share anything? Anything silly? Okay, well keep that thing in mind. We might play with it again later on. So I'm going to talk a bit about my interest. I love science, as you can see. I don't really like to call it science. I just like to call it curiosity, because when I see things I don't know, I tend to look at them, and sometimes it's not good for me, but I do it all the time anyways. Back when I was a little kid taking piano lessons, I was the teacher's most annoying student because I kept on asking questions. My hand was always up, it was never down. The teacher ended up never asking me anything because I was just so curious. She really did not like me. And I was always just that really weird kid. My parents also said in kindergarten, when we had story time and sitting around in a circle. I also sat in the circle. I wasn't weird. I didn't sit away from the circle. I sat in the circle, except I was facing the wrong way all the time. So I had an innate curiosity for everything ever since I was a kid. And I'm never happy with anything. I always ask why. So as a result of this curiosity and stuff, I told you about the sulfuric acid I put on the sock. My grandpa gave me a chemistry textbook in 3rd grade, and I read it, and I didn't really get it, but I like reading it. So I just always really liked questioning things about science in general. And as a result, I've done a lot of really cool things as a result of my vigor and acting on this interest. I was the president of our science club at school this year, trying to share this passion for science with everyone around the school. We did really fun demos like that sock. There was another one where we had spray bottles with different salt in them, salt solutions in them. And there was a little fire that was going on. And when you spray the different salts in the solution, the fire turned different colors. And that's actually the same way how they make fireworks have different colors. Because when different metals burn, they give off different colors depending on like the way their electrons are arranged. So that's one. I just did a lot of cool things like that with Science Club, and I really, really enjoyed it because I loved science and I got to do what I loved. Another thing, Science Bowl. I've done Science Bowl these last 2 years. It's been a huge part of my life, and I've just enjoyed hearing the questions, learning more about the world. It's really great because you learn all these different aspects of science. And it was just an incredible experience when we went to nationals about a month ago. We just met a lot of people from around the US, experienced science every day for like 5 days, and we just had a fun time, a really good time there. Oh, linguistics. This is actually a really funny story. So, science is curiosity, but curiosity isn't always in the typical subjects like physics, math, science, whatever. I was curious about the way people were speaking, because remember how I said about my sister? Once she was around dance people, she started speaking like dance people. Well, I noticed a lot of people at our school spoke in different ways. And I was like, what does that mean? And I searched a lot of Wikipedia, and it was really interesting. There's actually something called the California vowel shift that goes on here, where the way you pronounce certain vowels is changing. Like the way young people pronounce vowels is different than the way old people pronounce vowels. And it has to do with trying to look cool at school. For example, the vowel oo as in food, it's not really like food. Like, I know all the parents, the way you learn it in China or in Taiwan or wherever, is it's the oo vowel, right? But that's not how it's pronounced here. Over here, we don't say food. We say food, not oo, right? And little changes like this, it's not bang, it's bang. There's all these vowels that move around, and I was very curious about that. I heard it, but I didn't really know there was a science behind it. I started going on Wikipedia in my free time to figure out what it was. And it turns out there were people that actually researched this, sitting in offices in universities. There were professors looking at the ways teenagers spoke. And I was really lucky because one of the top in the field, her name was Professor Eckert, was actually super close. She's at Stanford. So I was like, wow, that's really cool. So I sent her an email, and I was like, hey, this is really cool. Can I come by sometime? And surprisingly, she actually said, yes, come by my office. We can chat about it. And it was just a really eye-opening experience for me to see, there were people studying the way people spoke. And I thought that was really cool to me. And long story short, this was so interesting. I wanted to see what I could do with it. She gave me one of her microphones. I started walking around school with microphones, attached to people to record how they spoke. And I did a little project comparing how the English has changed from 30 years ago to the way it is today, and also showed how different people at our school spoke different ways. Not everyone at school speaks the same. And I tried to show how that related to social standing. The more popular someone is, the more different their ooh sound is, or something like that. There was evidence suggesting that, but there wasn't enough to really say. And you see, all this came from my interest and my curiosity. I was just questioning how people talk. Oh, I didn't finish the story. So I did a science fair project on that. And I ended up going to I won the regional science fair in the category, and I went into the state science fair, and I won second, which sucks, because I didn't really like the first place project. But, you see, I was just curious about the way people talk, but I wasn't just, oh, okay, how do they talk? Oh, like that, okay, that's cool. I didn't stop there, I acted on it, I had vigor. I did something with it. I wrote an email to a professor, I was active about it, and I just tried to explore all that. And I had a blast doing it. I had so much fun doing all this linguistics research because it was something I was curious. It was something that made my eyes pop when I heard it. So that was my linguistics research. One of the most fun things I've done in high school.
That's your
Oh,
question.
Yeah.
What did you do with your linguistic project
I did it for science fairs. So
for science?
yeah.
And also for your science club, then how often do the members meet?
It's once a week at lunch on Friday.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And then the labs, do you do it in your like a teacher's lab or you do it outside?
We do it in the classroom, at the front of the classroom. We wanted to do one outside this year, but we want to do a really big thing where you can make iron melt. It was so hot. It was like 1,500 degrees Celsius. You can make molten iron that glowed like red. But they didn't let us do that because it was too dangerous. So yeah, we do them inside.
So you must have a very supportive teacher.
Yes.
To help you out.
Very
Lucky.
Which
Yeah.
subject class you are talking about? Is STEM or it's
Oh, this was science club.
science class?
Yeah, the club. Yeah. Any other questions so far? I'm not done with this slide yet. The others both stuff.
When you were in freshman, which club did you join? Did you switch to a different club at different year?
I don't know. I just joined the ones I thought were cool. Yeah, just join clubs you think are cool. Don't join clubs join clubs because your friends are there, and join them because you think they're cool. Don't join them because they're clubs you're supposed to join. Because who knows what you're supposed to do? You know what you're supposed to do. Other people don't, right? So don't think, oh, there's a club you're supposed to join. Personally, for me, I joined clubs that I thought were cool. There was a speaking club I joined because I had a friend 2 years older than me who really liked speaking, and he went to the club. I went to science club because I liked science. What else did I go to? Yeah, that was it. I didn't really do that many clubs. So yeah. Any other questions so far? Okay. Bioinformatics research. There was a program called SIMMER that I did last summer. I applied to it and I got in, and it was really, really fun because it was my first experience like in a university faculty environment where everyone is just motivated around you doing science. And it was very nice doing all this research during the summer. It was where that picture with the guy in the tuxedo came from.
One question about the CMM
Yeah.
program. How did you get in?
How did I get in? I went on the website, I clicked on the application, I filled it out, I wrote a few essays, and then they liked it. Yeah.
It is very competitive.
It's quite a competitive program, yeah.
What's your qualification?
So my qualifications, I'm going to talk about them. It's
Okay.
the strategies for summer programs are quite similar to the strategies for college, and I'll talk about those near the end of my speech. Yeah, and then I also do some random coding projects for science. I'm also going to talk a bit more about my simmer specifically later on too.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I just do random coding projects, and I like to code. One really fun one right now is I read a lot about deep learning and recurrent neural networks, which are like fancy machine learning things now, and someone used them to generate Shakespeare. Like they showed the thing a bunch of Shakespeare, and it learned how to write Shakespeare. And I was like, wow, I want to get my computer to write something. Remember my friend earlier, Tim, who was really good at street smarts, and he knew a lot about cars and a lot about business and a lot about rappers? I'm working with him right now to make a rap generator. That's a lot of fun to work on. So, again, I actually did this too late to write on my college apps though. But it's just another example of something, me acting out of my interest. Okay. Okay, another big one of my interests is music. I really like sound. It's really cool. It's a wonderful way to express yourself. It's a way to speak things to people and communicate without saying words. Because no matter what language you speak music. And it's just so fun for me to relax, play, listen to music. It's just something I personally find meaningful. So again, I didn't just sit at home and listen to music all day long. I did something with my music, right? I had vigor. I did something. So what did I do? I went to California Youth Day. I practiced horn a lot so I could be good, and then I was good enough that they wanted me to play principal. So I played principal there for a number of years, and it's just been so much fun. We play a lot of great music. I did all-state honor bands. That was cool. It's like you play an audition, and then they like you, and then you go play it with people from all around the state, and it's nice and prestigious. I also played a lot of chamber music with a lot of my friends. That was fun. I played piano for a long time. I did some piano competitions, but I wasn't. There's some people that are really good at piano and practice a lot. I wasn't one of them. I just kind of did it on the side because I found it really fun to play. And I also do a bunch of non-classical kinds of music like jazz, improvisation, making beats, rapping, hip hop. It's kind of cool. Just a little passion I have. I'm going to talk about this later on too. So it's just nice to have little cool things you do. Okay, so what advice do I have about interests? Figure out the kind of stuff you like early so you know who you are, right? Whether that's like you like flying kites. My friend Eli, I wish he would have done more stuff with kites. Back in middle school, we tried to make a kite out of chopsticks and plastic bags. It did not fly, but I feel like if we tried again today, it might have worked. And who knows, maybe that would have been a nice activity he could have done. Maybe he might have started a kite club or something like that, I don't know. So try a bunch of different things, see which ones you like. If you don't like something, don't do it. That way you don't waste your time. There's a lot of stuff I stopped doing because I didn't like them. So try different things and figure out what makes you smile.
What are the things you tried and you stopped?
I did not like pre-med. My dad does not like to hear that, but I just didn't really find it as invigorating as other people did. Other stuff I did not like. I did not like law. Law just felt kind of empty for me. I haven't really tried business before, but from like the little experience I've had, it just didn't appeal to me on the same level as some other stuff did. What other stuff do I not like? I don't know, I tend to like a lot of things. It's just a few things I didn't like as much as the other things that I ended up not doing.
Have you do some sports?
Sports, oh yes. I was going to talk about this earlier when I was talking about health. I tried cross country in my sophomore year because I wanted to run. And it's nice to because they force you to run. I didn't really fit into the people on the team. So I didn't have that many close friends on the team, so I decided not to do it afterwards. But I kept the positive part of cross country because, as I said, running is a very social thing because you get to talk to people. But the problem with cross country was I wasn't that close to a lot of people. So even though I talked to them, they weren't really my friends. So I got the best part. And another bad part about cross country was they force you to run, and some days you don't want to run. So I got the best part of both worlds with what I'm doing today. Is I run when I want to, about once a week, and I run with friends that I like. So the two things, and I get my exercise done. So I got all the good parts of cross country without having to be in there. So anyways, once you have your passions and interests, you start being vigorous about them. You do as much as you can to try to do that. My favorite example again is me in science during the linguistics project because I liked it so much. And I had, like, when I was beginning, I was just browsing Wikipedia. I had no idea it would turn into a science fair project, like, in the state. I was just really interested, and I kept on doing it. So if there's something that interests you, makes you smile, do it. Be, like, as good as you can, get as far as you can with it. And the thing is, why do you do that? It goes onto your resume for your college applications, right? It's the easiest. There's so many benefits to just doing things that you like. You are also happier when you do things you like. If my parents made me do a business club and I don't particularly like business, I would not be as happy today because I would spend more of my time doing things I don't like and less time doing things I do like. So if you do things you like, you're happier. Also, when you're writing your college application, it's much more convincing when you say, I did this because I liked it, rather than I did this because I don't know, right? And finally, it makes you more unique. If you start a kite club at your school, I can bet you there's very few people around applying to some school. The admissions council is not going to see kite club a lot, so they're going to remember you, right? So it's just very advantageous in so many ways to only pick activities. I'm going to take that back. To pick mainly activities that you like to do because the main reason why is you just feel so much more of a sense of fulfillment and meaning out of your time in high school if you do things that you enjoy. And it's just so much easier to fill up your resume with things that you like. You're so much happier. Your application is much more convincing and unique. And it's just different on the people. Let me give some more examples about people. My friend Kenny, as I said, he loves to dance. But he didn't just dance at home and not do anything. He organized all the homecoming dances. He danced a lot for his friends. Like when they were asking someone to prom and they needed a dance, they asked him. And he's done dance for so many different things. He wrote his college essays about how he through a lot of hard work, like just became part of the dancing community, did a lot of stuff, and now he's going to Colombia in the fall. Because of this weird, again, it's pretty unique. No one really talks about that, especially Asian Americans. Like no one dances. So, and he was very happy when he was dancing, right? Another example, my friend Akil, my good friend Akil, he loves teaching people. When someone understands something and their eyes light up, he loves that moment. And he doesn't just like, okay, I like teaching people, I'm done. I'm not going to do anything. No, he didn't do that. He went out and did something with it. He went to Miller and started the program called Association of Student Tutors. AOST is what we called it. And he actually worked with the administration. I was on the team as well. And it ended up being a thing every day after school where he got motivated tutors from Lynbrook to come tutor kids at Miller after school. And the program's been very successful. Like, we get a lot of positive feedback from students, from teachers. And see, the thing is, he didn't just say, oh, I like teaching, and then stop and play video games. Although that's what he's doing now, he's playing a lot of video games. He did something. He started a club at our school, not a club. He started like an organization that would allow him to tutor more people. And he also likes to go up to Oakland and help out people in the lower income areas because he just enjoys tutoring so much. He wrote about this kind of passion he had for helping people in his applications. And guess what? He's going to Cornell. I think you guys kind of see a pattern. You have a convincing, unique application by doing things that you personally passionately enjoy. One last one. Akil's friend from Massachusetts loves to sing. He sings for a lot of stuff. I don't actually know this guy personally, so I can't tell that good of a story. But now he's going to Harvard because of his singing. Yeah. So it doesn't always have to be things like, oh, doing science competitions or, oh, joining this club, that club, because what people say, the people that say things don't know what you want. You know what you want. You know you want these things because they make you happy. So do those things. And do a lot of them. Be big this. Oh yeah. You get valuable skills from doing this. Finally, here's my college application theory. Here we go. There are 3 parts to your application. Your academics, your resume, and your essay. This is very good to know because, again, the more you know about this, the less you have to worry, the less you have to stress out. Academics, resume, and essay. Your academics show how technically capable you are. Your resume shows what interests you have and shows that you have this vigor in your life. And finally, your essays show your personality, who you are as a person, and why you fit for the college. And you need all of these together to form a convincing application. Okay. Academics. As I said, it shows your technical ability and it's your basic requirement as a good student. It's not the one goal you aim for. A lot of people have this misconception where their only thing they need to do is to get good grades. That doesn't do anything. It's the basic requirement. It's kind of like when you're baking a pie, it's just the crust of the pie. If I gave you a pie and it was just the crust, that does not taste very good, right? So you need to, it's not just about the pie, you still need the filling inside the pie. What's the filling? It's the complete story, it's the rest of who you are. It creates the flavor and the substance, it makes you a human, it completes your story. What's your interest? What do you like to do? What's your passion? What's your thingies that make your eyes light up? Who are you as a person? You know, you need the filling to your pie crust. So a lot of people focus too much on that without focusing enough on this. And the thing about this is it's very easy to focus. It's very easy to develop your filling. You just need to have interest and do that. Right? Resume, next part. This part is, remember how I said earlier, you pick your activities based on things that you like. Well, then once you do all these things, you make your resume out of these things. Very easy. Nice flowchart. This is the basis of my theory. And resume is nothing more than writing things that you've done and make them formal. On the common application, you have 10 spots to put 10 different things. Do not think about this as, okay, I need 10 things to do in my life. Let's see, I'm going to do this, that, I'm done. No, you're not going to be happy if you do that. As I mentioned, so many people leave high school unhappy precisely because they do things like that and they think like that. Don't think like that. Think from this side. What do I like to do? I like to fly kites. Okay, let's do them with vigor. Let me start a kite flying competition at our school or something. I don't know. Or let's say you like video games. Okay, let's start a video game blog. Who knows? Those become your activities, all these things that you do. And then by the time, if you have enough interest and you have to do them with enough vigor, by the time you need to do this, you'll have enough things to pull from this. It's easy. So yes, you need 10 spots on there. And you just phrase your activities nicely. You don't say, let's see, for my rap generator, I don't say, I made a computer write rap. That sounds terrible. You have to say, I applied novel machine learning concepts towards popular music. Or stuff like when I was playing first horn in the All-State Orchestra, I tried to make it sound as good as I can. I was like, first place horn in state orchestra. Or like, you have to make it sound as convincing and good as you can. Like when I was on the cross-country team, I didn't just say, oh, I ran with our school. I said, part of Lynbrook's award-winning cross-country team.
Great job.
I didn't win the awards, the team did. So just phrase it nicely. So what should a good resume do? It should reveal your interests. You should be able to peek back through here and it should be very evident what your interests are. It should show off your vigor. It shows off you know how to go from here to here. Because colleges want this. This is the one thing they want. They want vigor. They want to see you have the capability and the motivation to turn your interests into activities. Because a lot of the time this involves teamwork, leadership skills, communication skills, a lot of very important things. So really show off your vigor. Show that you know how to turn ideas into realities, interests into activities. Be spiky. This is a thing I'm very thankful for because colleges more and more want students that are good at one particular thing, not students that are like well-rounded and can do everything. And what they actually do now is instead of getting 100 people that are all good at math and science and art and drawing and dancing, they get like 20 people that are good at art and 20 people that are good at flying kites and 20 people that are good at beatboxing, So they're trying to find students with specific interests. So find one specific interest or two or however and do those very far. Don't try to do everything. That doesn't work. And that doesn't necessarily make you happy because it's impossible to have that many interests that all make you happy. So just, yeah. So let me talk about my case for my resume. So I had 10 spots and I'm gonna put all my 10 things that I've done. So here are the 4 activities I wrote about on my thing for my resume for science. And this is not very useful for you to write down because everyone's different. You're not gonna do these activities. You're not the same as me. You're not me. So one, I don't remember how I phrased it. One was like captain of award-winning science bowl team. Award-winning sounds really nice.
But
And I wrote.
that's 2006.
Oh yeah, also I wrote the one from last year, but I just put a picture here. This looks nice. And then I wrote president of science club, and then I wrote some nice sounding things about that. Yeah. It was my state science fair where I went from looking up Wikipedia about how people talked to getting a medal at the state science fair because I thought it was cool. And then he was doing the summer program. So I said I would talk a bit more about that. It's a program where you do research at Stanford for 8 weeks. And actually, there's not really much to say. The way you apply to that is the way you apply this to colleges as well. So not much more to say. And the next part of my resume was music. I don't know why that took so long. I was part of a charity organization that gave music concerts, and I found that was so cool because you could help people and do things you like at the same time. I like helping. This is same idea again. I like helping people, and I like playing music. And I did this. I did both, and I got something to put on my resume. That was perfect. So that was a charity music organization I played for. I played in CYS for a number of years. That was a lot of fun, and my good group of friends, the Pink Bow Ties, the chamber music ensemble that I was part of. That's a really nice picture. So I wrote about those 3 things, and finally I had a number of miscellaneous activities. I don't know why sometimes the pictures don't show up. So this was back when I did cross country, As you can see, I love to run because I'm smiling in there. Not really. I was just smiling for the camera. I couldn't find a picture. This was the tutoring organization that my friend started at Miller. And this was, remember how I said I wanted to get better at French? I volunteered at a French immersion summer camp. All these people spoke French, and most of them only spoke French. That was a problem for me because I had to speak French or else they wouldn't understand me. So after doing 3 weeks of this, I got better at French because I had to. And it was a lot of fun working with all these kids about everything. So it was volunteering at a French summer camp. So as you can see from the 10 activities that I put on here, I really didn't think from the set of, okay, I have 10 things to fill, what do I do? I was just going after things that I love to do. Like, I love going after science, so I just did a lot of it. I love playing music, so I did a lot of it. And some other random things that I did. And the thing is, all these kind of like form me put together. So they all kind of work together to form who I am. So I like putting this example because it shows how you like use your resume to kind of show the different interests that you have. So yeah, those 10 things were my 10 things I would call that. And I like to think about it as Pokemon. So in Pokemon, what you do is you catch a lot of Pokemon and then you train them. It's the same way. You pick a lot of, you get activities and you develop them with vigor so that they're good Pokemon, that they're good activities. So it's not like I was a part of science club, or it's not like I was a horn player in the CYF. I was the principal horn. You have to train your Pokemon. And then at the end of the day, you have to fight, what was they called? The Elite Four. You have to fight them. And you need to pick 6 of your best Pokemon for your team. And the thing is, you can't all pick the same Pokemon. You can't pick 6 Pikachus. Why? Because they're weak. I forgot what type, but there's a type that can beat Pikachu. So you need to kind of,
Ground type.
Ground type, yeah. If your opponent has ground type Pokemon, you're dead. So you have a diverse set of Pokemon in your party. And the same way as your activities, you can't just only have one kind of activity. That makes you a very boring person. On the other hand, you can't just have completely every kind of activity because remember, colleges don't like that. They don't want completely well-rounded. They want spiky focus point. And finally, the most important point is the Pokemon you pick depends on the Pokemon your opponent have. And like depending on different colleges, you're gonna put different parts of yourself to show. For example, for MIT, I showed a lot of my more technical things rather than some of my more musical things because that's the kind of school that they have. So when you're thinking about doing resume, just think about the Pokemon analogy. You're collecting different Pokemon, and at the end of the day, you need to pick 6 of them to go onto your party. And this final, okay. Any questions about the resume part of the college application, how to think about it? Yeah.
So how do you know which college likes what kind of person and really present that specific part?
You hear
In your case, did you get a counselor or learn from your friend? Or
you just kind of learn from your friend from the website, from the general college culture. Like the website, I don't know, it's just, you kind of get a sense of what different colleges are like and like their personalities.
Like browsing their website?
Yeah, browsing websites was a big deal of it.
So you did most by yourself?
Yeah, or I talked to a lot of friends. Remember, friends can give you things passively. My friends gave me a lot of passive information about what the different colleges were kind of like. Yeah.
How many colleges that you applied for?
How many? I don't remember. I applied for a good deal of the UC colleges because it's nice. For them, you just check how to apply to a UC college is you check a box and you pay $50. So I applied to a good deal of them, and then I think I applied to around 6 or 7 other ones. I'll get to that a bit later on when I talk about essay.
But can you give like some hints about the colleges applied to with their culture that is, so you can write a better essay for them to see your like strength? For example, you said for MIT you write more things about science, and for Stanford you read what? So we want hear some tips.
So for some specific schools, yeah. I mean, a lot of these are kind of just basic intuition after you understand what the colleges are. So the main part is to know what the colleges are kind of like. I got this mainly from listening to friends, so my own view is kind of biased from my friends. So like MIT, as everyone knows, is a technical place where it's a bunch of geeks. So you want to look geeky, or you might not. Your strategy might be different. You might want to look weird because they like weird people as well. Right? The people there are so weird. Let's see. Like Yale is a very liberal artsy school, so you might want to show things like, I don't know, you've done art at a local art gallery. Another school like Stanford likes awesome people. So you try to be as I don't know. It just depends on the character of the school you want to go to. I can't really give more detailed advice on this. Yeah.
Do you have to really customize your activity to fit the school, or what do you do?
You portray yourself in a way that's more suited for the school. Or if your activities don't work for a school, you don't apply there, right? So it's just really, you just do your interest and you end up with activities you can put on your resume. And then from there, you might shuffle around some of the activities. But like, for example, there's like art schools. I didn't apply to art schools because I don't even have any activity. I don't even have any Pokemon I could put on my team for an art school, right? So there's that. If there's a school where like the interest, like if your interests don't line up with the school's interests, you might as well not apply there. Like there's a lot of schools I just didn't apply to because I knew my interests wouldn't line up with them. Like Caltech. It's a great school, except if I followed my interests, I wouldn't have been happy there because they're way too geeky for me. You know, I don't like stuff like that. So the flow should never be this way. The flow should always be this way. Yeah.
Do you think you had enough time to know which interest you decided to go? It's been 4 years. Do you think the students should be deciding earlier, or they are okay to take some time to find out their real interest?
That's a good question. I'd say it depends on each person. I personally kind of already knew each of these things as a freshman because I just was so curious and interested, but everyone is different. Maybe they might not know the kind of stuff that makes them happy until their sophomore year. And in any case, it's always advantageous to start early because then you have more time to develop, rise up the ladder, stuff like that. So I'd say it's nice to know what you like to do early and explore as many things as early as you can, but it's not really a big deal if you find out later. Like for linguistics, I didn't do that until like my sophomore year. Or other things like coding. I didn't even start coding until my junior year. And a lot of people know me as someone who's a code. So it's never too late to start any of these kind of things.
So how did you use that in your essay writing? Did you ever mention you tried something didn't work out, or you found out, it's not your really interest? You don't have to necessarily put in your essay or storytelling?
I'm kind of confused by your question.
So did you ever mention the ones you tried but didn't work out? Or
I actually didn't. There was one essay where I mentioned how I tried to learn jazz, but that one kind of worked out in the end. Oops. Yeah. So I don't think I tried a lot of things that didn't work out, but I don't think I really mentioned them. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird for you to say like, write an essay about you completely disliking law. Because what if the person that reads it happens to be a lawyer, you know? So I think it's always better to write about things you like than things you don't like.
But did you show weeklies, or did you show any weeklies?
Did I film?
Show.
Or in another word, you started the computer science late. How you mentioned that?
Oh, did I mention that? I didn't mention I started late.
Don't show any weeklies.
Yeah. Oh, do I show weakness? You shouldn't try to be perfect. You just try to be human. So, if everything makes you sound like a god, you know there's something wrong in there, right? So I'm trying to think. That's a good question. What are some weaknesses I showed in my essays?
Did you ever show them?
There was one part. No, you. That's a really good question. You can't make yourself you want to make yourself look nice, but you can't make yourself look absolutely perfect because that's so boring. You know. So there was one essay where I talked about how I couldn't learn how to play jazz, and I talked about my experiences trying to learn how to play jazz, and that was an interesting essay to write. So I showed my weakness of not knowing jazz. What are some other ones? there's other ones where I talked about me not knowing something and later on understanding something. So I wouldn't really say weaknesses. Those were like learning processes.
One more question, sorry.
Yeah.
So how do you balance the rigorous course load with all the interests that you have to pursue? So is it better that you just skip on, for math example, you just do the honor lane instead of skipping a grade so you can pursue all the interests?
That
or do
would
you
be.
want to do all the really tough classes and not be able to do a lot of interests?
That's a good question. You're going to hear different things from different people. My personal advice is pursue your interests, not the classes. Because your classes remember they're the pie crust. They don't actually fill anything. They're just a nice crust to hold your pie in. You can, it's better to have tastier pie than to have a pie with a thicker crust, to make the analogy work. And in addition, for most of us, we're going to be happier doing more activities than doing more in classwork.
So
How
do
many
you just do
AP
any
do you
math
take?
skipping one grade or just regular?
I did skip a math grade, but again, it's different for different people. I highly advise doing more interesting activities than doing skipping a class just for the sake of it. Because skipping a class does not add to your interest. It does not make you happier. It just takes away time from you to do these kinds of things, which are arguably more useful. So I would say, now of course, this is with the pretense that you do these things. If you don't skip a class and you don't do any interest, that's worse, right? So you should be focusing on these things, and I would say prioritize this over taking a more rigorous course load. It's more fulfilling and it's more useful. Yeah.
So in your case, do you take AP classes or?
I did take AP classes for the ones I liked. For example, I don't like history. I did not write that on my essays, but I don't like history. So I didn't take the AP history course. I didn't take all the APs that they could. I just took the ones that I thought were interesting. Like literature, I liked the literature courses, so I took their AP courses.
How many P did you take?
I don't know. I would estimate between 5 and 8, I think. Again, they're not going to completely really care about that because it's kind of just like a threshold. They just kind of look at it. They don't look at this exact class, that exact class. They just kind of look at it and say, oh, he's been trying to take this kind of classes. Okay, let's go look at who he is as a person. They're not going to say, oh, he took one less AP. We're not going to look at him at all. So this is much more important than the raw numbers like AP. Yes, of course, those kinds of numbers, GPA, test score, all that's important, but only up to a degree. Like, my SAT score was not very good because I knew I would spend a lot of time to get it even higher. I wanted to spend time doing this, not spending time getting it marginally higher. This is marginally so much more useful than focusing on classes. Of course, this doesn't mean you don't take any AP classes or honor classes, but it's not as important as doing activities and being vigorous. Okay, I actually have a lot to get through. I think, is it okay if we end around 10 minutes late because we started 10 minutes early?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the essays are the most important part, so I don't want to rush through the essays that long. So essays, this is arguably the most important part of your application because they hear your voice. So essays, explain your interests, show off your personality, and explain why you want to go to that school. Don't forget this. Essays are not to continue bragging about your accomplishments because you already did that in your resume, right? Essays are not to talk about your technical research because you might be able to have a supplement. These are the purposes that essays are there for. Best way to use them. So now I'm going to give tips about each of the sections. Academics, start early. I took my SAT in my sophomore year. You do not learn enough from they say the later you go, the more mature your brain is, the more you learn from your classes. I personally found that was not true. Taking my AP English class in my junior year did not help me do better on the SAT. So just get it done with early, and then you do not have to worry about it. There's so many good parts. You have to do it eventually, so you might as well do it earlier before you take the harder classes to worry about, right? Later on, your courses are tougher. You don't want to balance too many things. You feel comfortable once it's done. You don't have to worry about it. I know a lot of people waited until their senior year to take it. They were so worried. Why worry when you can be happy, right? So they waited until their senior year to take it, and they were worried. I didn't have to worry about it after I finished. So start early.
What time you take?
I took it January of my sophomore year. Yeah. So just try to start. Of course, don't be ridiculous. Don't take it in like 8th grade because that's not really useful. This is just something you need to get done, and just get it done as early as you can before other things start happening.
So you only take once?
Yes, I only took once because I was. This is actually kind of silly. I had a girlfriend back in sophomore year, and we broke up 3 days before I took the SAT. So I did a lot worse than I thought, and I was so traumatized I didn't want to take it again. So that was kind of the reason. But you see, it didn't really matter because I spent my time doing interests.
What did you get? What did you get?
I got 2,300 on SAT.
That's already good.
You need to take second time.
But it's some people want to do even better than that.
What's
So,
your reading score?
huh?
Critical reading score.
I don't remember my breakdown. I forgot a lot of the stuff after a while. I took it like 3 years ago.
Oh wow.
So yeah, standardized testing start early. Pick a balanced course load, as I said. It's not just about taking AP courses. Like, if you do an economic analysis, out of your time you have, the time that you spend doing homework for these harder classes is so much more worth, and it makes you so much more happier to spend them doing activities you love. And it's much more useful for your application to write about more activities than write about more courses. Don't forget why you're taking the courses, right? Academics are just for the crust. They're not as marginally useful as other things such as doing activities. The purpose is just the crust of your pie. Don't get that confused. Okay, tips about your resume. The most important thing about resumes is it shows your vigor. It shows you can turn things from your interests into activities. So that's why your resume is there. Don't forget, right? You pursue your interest through your activities. So what I did was, at the beginning of my senior year, I just sat down at a table and I thought, okay, what have I done with my life? And I kind of just made a little map of me. I think it's still up on my wall. And I just sorted through all the things I've done, and I reflected on what I've done in high school, and I picked a good Pokemon team that was, like, out of all the things, I had to pick like a certain number in this category, a certain number in that category, right? So that I formed a nice picture of me. And I made them sound nice, right? The award-winning cross-country team, not just cross-country team. And also make sure you're actually saying something, because if your accomplishment is nothing and you make it sound like something, that's kind of fishy too, right? I had a friend who wrote team captain of Team C Science Bowl in something competition. And it sounded really good, but he literally just showed up one day in an afternoon to a little competition. So make sure your activities you do are genuinely things that show your interest, not empty little shells that don't have anything. And finally, the purpose is to paint a picture of yourself from putting all those parts together. Essay. I don't know if everyone's gonna like my tip, but I was as weird as I could when I was writing my essay. Because the thing is, you want them to remember you, so just do weird things. I'll share most of my essays that I wrote in the next slide. So, I actually wrote down some examples of weird things my friends did. My friend Emery started an essay she wrote about toilets. Her first paragraph was about why she was obsessed with toilets and how much water they used, because she actually started up an eco-friendly thing at her school where they reinstalled all the toilets to be more eco-friendly. And that got their attention right away. It's like, whoa, why is she talking about toilets? And she actually knows a lot about toilets. If you ever want to figure out like what model something is, how much water it uses, the good or bad parts, how a toilet works, you can ask her. It's really cool. My friend Akil wrote an essay where he started with Listerine bottles. He's like, someday the only source of joy in my life was the Listerine bottle, the mouthwash. I don't know where he was going with that essay, but it definitely made an impression, right? I was going to write an essay, I didn't do it, where I wrote about peeing under a bridge in public. I don't know where I was going for that, and because that's how they remember you. Right? Because at the end of the day, after they read it, they read so many things. You want them to remember you for one sentence summary, like, oh, that's the guy who liked toilets, or oh, that's the guy who talked about group theory, or oh, that's the guy that related music to science. Right? So you want a nice and easy one sentence summary blurb for them for you. Reuse your essays. Do I have my picture on here? Okay. These were my essays I used. There were so many different essays that the different schools wanted. And you can't write a different one for each school. So I reused some certain essays for different schools because it saved a lot of time. So I actually wrote general essays and then I took them and modified them for specific schools. And the thing is that each school isn't just one essay for the most part. There's like 2 or 3 different essays. So you want them to show all parts of you, right? It's like when you're getting a poker hand, you don't want you want a good hand to draw from the deck. You don't just want some random hand. So I had different categories I all wanted. Like for each school, I wanted a music, a science, and a quirk, right? And I just picked the right essays with the word count for each school to have the right word, right? So it's like picking the right cards from the deck. Of course, each of these took so long to write and perfect and make into a work of art. But once it was, you just pick the right ones for the right school that fit the school's profile, that get all the things you want, right? It's like picking the hand from a deck. And finally, do not underestimate good writing. My essays were very lively and very fun to read. You want to make them fun to read and write well. Let me give some examples of things I wrote. It has to sound elegant. For example, I practiced the fine art of imitating sounds with the human mouth. Through years of practice in the shower, I've taught myself how to sound like a vintage drum set, a creaking door, a wub-wub dubstep drop, or a galloping horse. This was one where I talked about beatboxing. Another example. Here's a more serious one. While the camp's core curriculum focused on small daily morning classes from everything from probability theory to cognitive science, the true value of the camp lay in spontaneous evening discussions in the lounge, where students huddled around easels like little chicks, frantically scribbling equations, vigorously engaged in meaningful chatter. You know, it's just stuff that sounds elegant. So focus on your writing skills because it really makes it easier to read. Use good verbs, use descriptive words. Like for example, I said, instead of saying students sat in the lobby, I said students huddled around easels like little chicks. You know, it's more fun to read like that. So write exciting things. I'll just talk about all my essays because I think it's informative. My Common App essay was about how my life was defined by both music and science, how I could reconcile those two parts of me, which were so different on a fundamental level. A lot of schools ask for like, what's one activity that you like to do? The activity essay. I wrote about fun little stories about different music things I've done, like times when I performed without rehearsal, times where I played jazz late into the night in garages, or played with 50-year-olds around me. I played with someone's mom who was in my neighborhood. Yeah. So, fun little stories about me doing music. Another one with a bigger word count, right? I wrote about my story of going from looking on Wikipedia about how people talked during the state science fair. I wrote one where I was just being really weird. I wrote one about about how I learned that the nature of learning was around groups of people, and I extended that by twice as long for another one. I wrote one about how my friend, I mentioned my friend Jesse, he made me really comfortable during this process because I understood a lot about what I was supposed to do. A lot of this stuff I'm teaching, he taught me. And actually in return, during the summer, I taught him organic chemistry because he was doing pre-med and it was a really hard course. So I taught him that, he taught me how to get into college. So in honor of that, I wrote an essay talking about how I tutored him. One where I talked about my passion and experience for computer science and my time at Simmer. And one that I added why I wanted to go to each school for that one. So these were the different essays from the bank that I took from, and then I picked one or two or three. For example, for my Stanford essay, Stanford wants a lot of them. I wrote about this one, and that one, and that one. I picked those instances. For MIT has weird prompts. I picked this one, and two other ones. So it's about the essay writing process. The first semester in your senior year, a lot of people are afraid of it because it's the essay writing process, but really, it's not something to be scared of. It's a wonderful chance for you to discover who you are. I actually became a lot more happier as a result of writing essays because I sat down on that one day and I sorted my life out and I kind of understood better who I was. And it's the perfect time in your life to do this kind of reflection because you're approaching your adulthood where you're going to be alone and you're leaving all your child. It's just a nice reflection on what you've done so far. And so don't be scared about the essay writing process. Think about it as, oh, I get to learn more about myself. Not, oh, I have to write 650 words about myself. Right? Think about it in a positive light. Begin as early as you can and revise. Get your family, your friends to give you input on your things, and just go back and change it. I think my common application. You know what? Let me actually just. No, actually, I'm not going to show it. But my common application essay, I have about 20 drafts. And if you look at the first one and the last one, they're completely different. So revision makes good writing. Have a good attitude. Don't be scared about it or forgetting it. Think about, oh, it's a chance I can express myself. Not, oh, I have to write an essay. Not an obligation. And the best part is, if you remember these tips, you don't have to be worried, right? Just express yourself. You know you're doing the right things during the essay, and that gives you a sense of psychological comfort that really just makes everything a lot better, and you get to have a much better time. Yeah.
When did you start drafting your essay?
I started thinking about it during the summer on the bus, and I started drafting near the middle of summer.
Which year?
Before my senior year.
Before senior.
Yeah.
Because you said you did the SAT in the software.
I'm sorry, could you ask questions about testing after I finish the essay process? I want to answer those questions first. We're almost at the end. Okay. And social side. Oh, this is a very fun time to be around people because people are not very nice. So don't be people that aren't very nice. They just make your time worse. And remember, you're in control of your life. You get to pick your friends. Don't be around friends that make you nervous about your essays, right? Like, there's all these people. During this time, remember, this was the month where I was alone and felt really bad and didn't talk to a lot of people. And, like, it's because people are doing these kind of things at school where they're just gossiping about essays they write and just making it worse for themselves. Just avoid them. Talk to good friends. This is where good friends are really nice. Is you don't have to care about people talking about really bad things. Because you got to have a sense of psychological comfort. You got to feel comfortable and confident about your skills at this point. You don't want to feel nervous or stressed out because then you don't write as well. Also, don't go on College Confidential. It's scary. I didn't know it existed until after I got in. Just don't go on it during the time. Instead, focus on yourself. You are who you are. Don't let all these people around you affect you negatively. Because the most important thing, especially when you're writing essays, is be in a happy, good state of mind, reflective. Don't be stressed out because you write so much better and come up with so much more creative ideas when you are in a good mental state, right? And even now is when when it's so nice to invest in all your good friends and family, because I really don't know where I would have been during these months if my friends weren't around to talk to, and I didn't have my family to edit and support me. And again, remember that period of time in October where I didn't talk to anyone. I did not write anything in my essays. I was very unproductive. It was just a miserable time for me. I wasn't happy, and I just wasn't able to be creative enough to write the essays. So the main focus about when you're doing the applications is to be in a positive state of mind. Surround yourself with positive people. Avoid negative things. There's nothing wrong with purposely trying to make yourself happy. So yeah, your family and friends help you proofread your essays and make you more comfortable. So as just a quick summary of what I've gone through today, before we get to some questions, your friends and family are just extremely important to your life. They make your life so much better and enjoyable to live. And when you think back to high school, you're not going to think about, oh, I remember I stayed up late that one night studying for this test. You're going to remember, oh, I was hanging out with my friend that time on top of the roof, right? And maintaining just a nice attitude towards everything. And remember again, for me, I'm not happy today because I got into a good college. I'm happy today because all these things that I've done, this fun science I've been able to do, my friends and family that have been around me, and just, it would be a shame if you think back to high school and end up not being happy. There's just so many people I know end up like that today, and I just don't want you guys to end up like that. That's just kind of sad. And then on the college application side, the more you understand about college applications, the less you have to worry, the happier you can be. everyone has their own interests, things that make their eyes sparkle up and light up with joy. Do those vigorously. Do them go carry them out far, and then they turn into nice activities that just bring you a lot of joy, add meaning to your life. And then by the time this college application seasons roll around, bam, you can write them on your thing. And for your college application, remember 3 main parts. You have your resume, which is the pie crust. It's just the technical foundation of you. It's not the most important thing. It just shows that you are capable of doing things. You have your resume, which shows your interests and activities. This is basically a resume. And shows your vigor that you're able to do things. And finally, you have your essays, which are a chance to express yourself and show who you are to the college. So that's the summary of what I have today. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed listening to all this. I've been very happy sharing all these things that helped me have a good time in high school. And I hope you and your children will cherish these last however many years you have together, build up your relationship, and have just a positive high school experience. Thank you for being here today. Good job. Yeah. So I'm open to questions for a while. Yeah.
What do you think Stanford asked you? What do you think Stanford asked you?
I have no idea. I honestly don't know. But I think one thing that couldn't have hurt was. Huh? One thing that I definitely there's a few things I know for sure were helpful. Was I think that one linguistics thing was very. It was really cool because it was just different and weird, and no one really does linguistics. I haven't met a single other person at our school that loves linguistics. It's just that doing that kind of weird thing. And in addition, it was my weird combination of music and science that kind of did it. I had a nice music audition tape that I had. Well, I actually had a recommendation letter from the professor that helped me out with the linguistics project, and she was a faculty member there, which I think helped. And yeah, I think those are the main things. I had a really weird linguistics project.
You mean the faculty at Stanford?
Yeah.
I have 2 questions. First of all, how did you spend the time with your friends, especially in the junior and the senior year?
How did I spend time with my friends? That's a good question. A lot of time was eating dinner together, like with 2 or 3 people, and just having a good time eating food. What I also like to do was go into parks at night and just sit around on the park and
Why? Your
chat.
parents are cool.
Yeah, my parents were okay with that. But I also spent a lot of time at night with my parents. Other things I did was in my sophomore year when I was working on my social skills, I was just really walking around school after school and talking to whoever was around. Other fun kind of hangout things I've done with my friends. Playing music together, because I have a lot of friends who do music, so we were playing music together as a way to talk.
Second question.
Yes, second question.
Are you going to play music at your college?
Of course, I love music. Why would I stop?
So you are going to be in the symphony at
Yeah.
the Stanford?
Yes, come to the concerts. There's a good one.
There's a lot of concerts. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
哎，你到时候会发给我们一下是吗？
We know, I mean, Stanford is good if you also ability to cover, let's say like outreach, I don't know. The full spectrum of colleges, I'm sure there are many others among the 6 or 7 that you apply to. So yeah, if you don't mind, I mean, share. So I think it should be very
If I also don't mind, I got into a good deal of UC schools as well. And this was actually a tough decision for my parents because Stanford is about twice as expensive as the UCs. And I just thought that the kind of education I'd get from there was much better. I also got into some East Coast Ivy schools, but it's just, again, this is very personal. It really depends on who you are. I love the West Coast vibe a lot more than the East Coast vibe because people there they wear suits. Over here we wear flip-flops and sandals. I just didn't like that kind of feeling. And also a lot of the schools there are very elitist in the sense that there's some people who think they're better than you. I didn't really like that vibe. And also it was far, so I had to pay for travel. It was cold. Of course, Stanford has its own drawbacks because it's too local. I've already seen mindsets around here, and I'm too close to my parents. But the main thing was the culture that Stanford I really preferred, and the programs that it had for CS and linguistics were better than those on the East Coast.
So can you please share a little bit about your essay about the coding part, the computer science part? What actually you write in the essay, and then what's your activities of coding?
My main activity for coding was doing SIMMER. My summer research was actually a mix of biology and computer science. So I wrote about how I walked into the lab every day with that sense of wonder on my face. And I also wrote a very picturesque, artistic depiction of me coding into the wee hours of light with the green light shining from the monitor onto my face and my fingers busy clacking away, and me waking up groggy-headed the next morning but so happy because I could have finished my project. So I wrote stuff like that just to show my passion for it, and I talked about what I did with that passion by doing SIMMER and talking about my experience there.
There's no like a technical things involved. It's all about your passion.
Yes. Essays do not talk about technical things in your essays. Your resume does that for you. Never talk about like how good you are at something in your essays. Yeah.
You do not talk about what you learned from the program.
You talk about what you grew as a person and lessons about life and just meaningful things, what it meant for you. In there, you don't talk about like I did this and that and that and that.
Thank you.
So can you show the slides of the three parts? The technical school. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very useful slide.
Yes, it's really. Sorry. One question now, Rick. So from all your experience in 4 years of high school, how much you learned from the classes from teachers, or how much actually just explore by your own interest?
Do you mean learning things as in learning knowledge, or learning
No.
lessons about life?
Technical, academic things, or your interest, whatever. And how much the teachers impact on you, or how much is maybe. Because you mentioned you do a lot of things during the classwork, do your own things, right? Because you already learned the things by yourself.
That's right. So a lot of, I learned different things from different people. A lot of my technical skills I learned from my friends actually, because especially during activities like science bowl, because these things like, for example, I learned physics before I went to physics because everyone in science bowl did physics and I kind of absorbed it from them. So in terms of those things I learned from my friends, a lot of things I learned from my teachers as well. Like I had a great English teacher that taught a lot about how to approach life and what to do and what not to do in college. And a lot of technical stuff, of course, I learned from my teachers. But a lot of, it really depends on the person, what your kids are like. I learned a lot of things on my own from reading blogs and from just surrounding myself with good friends. That taught me a lot of things. Yeah.
I asked SAT before you took the SAT. What level your math?
My math?
Yeah.
Math class?
Yeah.
SAT math or the SAT one?
Math in the school. Your math level.
I was in.
You said you took the SAT, the sophomore year.
Yeah.
Because usually sophomore is take the pre-calculus.
Yeah, that's fine. You don't need to know that much math for SAT.
So that time you take you was taking pre-calculus.
Yes. Yeah.
I have two questions. The first one is you mentioned that in the Common App essay you get 10 spots on your resume.
Yeah.
How much do you get to write for each spot?
140 characters. It's really sad. You have to put your entire life into like very little boxes.
And my second question is what essay did you write for your Stanford Intellectual Vitality essay?
I wrote about I read a little passage from it earlier about little chicks counting on measles. So yeah, for that was actually one of my favorite essays I wrote. So the thing about my essays is I treat them as like works of art that I create. I'm proud of them. And it's just like expression of who I am. So I'm very happy with that particular essay. I talked about how my experience at a summer camp taught me that learning things was not from textbooks or just about the knowledge. Learning was about the social aspect of being around people and connecting with them through like discovering knowledge together. And it was like a very literary kind of essay. It was kind of like a poem. So that was the essay I wrote for that. Yeah.
So you mentioned that during sophomore year you realized you need to talk better and deal with people better. How do you realize that?
How did I realize that?
Why do you feel you have to talk better in front of people?
Well, I'm just a kind of reflective person in general, so I know what kind of faults I have, what kind of things I need to work on, what kind of things I can be confident in. So just around that time, I realized that, oh, a lot of people are better at talking than me. I should learn how to get better at talking. There wasn't really any particular thing. And yeah.
And I noticed you're an AIME qualifier. Where do you put that achievement? In the academic or AC?
I put that as part of like the resume. I actually didn't put that as one of my activities. I put that into like no, there's actually a part where you can put awards. There's like 5 awards. You can put, so I put it under awards.
When you said that you went around school talking to people to improve your social skills, did you just like talk to random strangers?
Not really strangers. It was just like cool people. It's just people I kind of knew. Yeah. Another funny thing, I actually learned a lot of my social skills from watching YouTube as well. So, because I knew I needed to work on that. So that was back around sophomore year. And yeah. How? It just didn't feel the same kind of drive for it. My eyes didn't open up or light up when I heard it. So I knew it wasn't that I didn't like them. It was just that other things made me like other things I liked a lot more. Like it wasn't. Well, there was kind of a sense of like, not really. It was just I didn't feel a kind of attraction when I was doing those kind of things. Let me give a specific example so I'm more clear. I was once at a dinner where this guy was this like really respected guy in the startup world, and he was talking about how his philosophy about living life and helping people through a startup and business management and all this interesting stuff. And everyone around me was so intrigued by him when he was talking. I wasn't. I thought it was kind of boring. I wanted to eat my food. You know, and I just didn't get that. But whereas on the other hand, sometimes when I'm talking, like during the summer at lunch, there was all these scientists that ate at the cafe. And they had these great discussions about everything all the time. And I was, like, my eyes were open and listening the entire time. That did not happen when this guy was talking about business. So I knew that business wasn't for me. But it's different for everyone. Maybe you like business and, like, your eyes light up when someone talks about management. And then when someone talks about science, you, like, want to eat your food. So it's different depending on people.
So when you met the team guy right, in the Stanford bus station, how do you know that you can get a friend?
Tim. He's actually one of my good friends now. He's actually my friend Jesse, who was the guy who helped me out with my essays and who I taught organic chemistry. Him and Tim were very good friends from 3rd grade. So he was like
Tim
a
quite
friend
different from you. Right?
He's quite different from me.
Yes, you already know him sort of through Jesse.
Yes, and we kind of had like it was just nice because otherwise we'd be on the bus alone. So at least I had someone to talk to on the bus.
What kind of major you decided?
What kind of major am I deciding? I really don't know yet. I want to do some kind of computer science, linguistics, and statistics. I'll explain why. Computer science because we're in the Bay Area and it's just very useful for so many different fields because like during the summer I did it with biology. Right now I'm doing it with linguistics for my rap project. And so many different fields need computer scientists. Linguistics because it just makes me really excited when I learn about the way people talk. And statistics for kind of the same reason. There's a kind of beauty to the way probability and numbers describe the world around us.
Linguistics at Stanford, is it a course or it's a major?
It's a major. And
So you're gonna like at least a double major then?
It's actually really cool. Stanford has a CS and linguistic joint major program
really?
that they're starting out. And that's what really... So, and I didn't mention this earlier. When you're writing your essays, you want to show how you are a perfect fit for that school's program. So through my talk about linguistics and that project and my other essays about computer science, I made it the case that like this program at that school was perfectly meant for me. It was like my soulmate. But you have to do that for every school you apply to. Yeah. So it's that program at Stanford really, really excited me. I actually went, again, with this idea of vigor. This is actually really funny. I went to talk to the guy who was in charge of the program. His name is Professor Jurafsky. And it was nice because I already knew another professor and she put me in contact with him. And just because I wanted to know more, I wanted to see if this program was really something I liked. And after talking to him, I was like 50 times more interested in the program. And the funny thing is, this is why I want to go to Stanford, not the East Coast. I walked into his office. He wasn't just wearing sandals. His sandals were off. So that was the kind of style that he was. But yes, I'm after the CS and linguistics
So this
program.
professor actually is the professor who's in the joint program.
He is the professor in charge of it. He's also the head of the linguistics department.
Linguistic.
Yeah.
Any other schools who has this joint program?
I think UCLA also has a CS linguistics joint program. I know a lot of schools are trying to do interdisciplinary stuff now, which is where you have multiple interests and you combine them. I get interested by everything, so that was perfect for me.
How many years that you participated in linguistic competition?
Oh yeah, I did a linguistics competition. I did it for 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
So when you talk to the professor about the area you're interested, is it before you apply or after you submit the application, got accepted?
It was around the time I was applying, because I wanted to make sure like I would be interested in that kind of thing.
That's a good move.
We took this the linguist activity before that, right?
Yes.
What did you spend your time in summer?
Okay, I should probably talk about this. So I had 3 summers. I have my freshman. This is just wrong time now. So I have my freshman year, my sophomore year, my junior year, and my senior year. This summer I didn't do anything. I took SAT classes because I was going to take my SAT here. This summer I did 3 things. I went on tour with CYS. That was so much fun. We went around Europe, and we had a lot of fun. We played in different towns. The drinking age is also lower in Europe, but I won't talk about that. Let's see. And then I went to that French volunteer camp, and I learned a lot of French culture, and I got a lot better at speaking in French. And then I also went to this program called Spark at Berkeley. It's a new kind of program, and it's really small. The focus of the program is teaching you how to use math, computer science, probability, these kinds of technical skills, and applying them to your everyday life, like modeling the way we think, how to approach the world. A concrete example on how this has helped me is it's made me think about applying to colleges as a probability game, because this has made me think life is statistics. So for example, when you're doing activities, you're not guaranteeing that you can never guarantee that you'll get into a school or something, but you're increasing the probability, maybe from 0.5% to 0.6%. And that's how you should think about it. You shouldn't be like sad by any particular acceptance or rejectance. You should be like thinking, oh, the dice wasn't in my favor that time. Maybe I could have increased my probability by something. Right? So it's all. So this has taught me to view life as a probability game. This, I went to Simmer, which was that program at Stanford, where I got to see so many incredible scientists during lunch. And I went back to Spark again. And this summer, I'm going on, this is after senior year, I'm going on tour again, and then I'm going to Quebec with a few of my friends. And then finally, I'm also teaching a Science Bowl class here. Science Bowl is a ton of fun, as you can see. It is a gateway to all different fields of science. It's made me love science so much more. I'm teaching a class during the summer. If you want to learn about the beauty of science, please do come. Yes, it's a really exciting class. And I'm actually going to say you learn so much more than you learn at school about science, because it covers all fields.
Yeah, today I send out the Science Bowl class information to my email.
I highly advise. You learn so much about science.
If
Yes.
I remember correctly, Simmer took 8 weeks.
Yes.
How did you do both?
This was 8 weeks. This was 2 weeks. Summer is 10 weeks. I had a busy summer.
So did you also do the SAT subject in between those?
I did my SAT subjects mainly here and here. And here.
Oh, what did you do?
I took my biology SAT subject here, I think.
Oh, okay.
And I actually did a lot of SAT subjects really late because I realized I hadn't remembered them.
How many you did?
So I did bio here. I did chemistry here. I did physics here for fun. I did math somewhere. I think I did math somewhere here.
When did you do the SAT, general SAT?
Oh, sorry?
SAT only.
I took that in my sophomore year.
So that's
The second year.
second year in January. So you only after your freshman, you pass the summer program, you prepare, then take after that.
Yeah. It depends on who you are. I kind of personally advise that because it's really nice to get your SAT done early before you're a lot busier here. So I think it was pretty nice for me to take the class between freshman and sophomore year and to take the test. Because then that way it's also fun because when your friends are like really stressed about it here, you can kind of laugh at them because you already got it done. Yes.
You read a lot?
Do I read a lot? No. I should read more. I actually have a long reading list for the summer that I want to start reading. Because we're in the digital age now, and a lot of things we read are like blogs and different blogs. I read a lot of blogs, but I don't read a lot of books anymore. Yeah. Yes.
So you mentioned you watch YouTube to improve your sociability. What kind of YouTube videos are you watching? I'm curious.
Okay, I didn't expect to talk about this, but yes, social skills are really important. I watched Minecraft YouTube videos back in like 9th and 8th grade. I stopped after this year because I got to a point where it just wasn't as useful anymore because I got better at talking by that point. Specifically, it was a group of people called Minecraft who like to play games and joke around a lot, but they don't really exist anymore. Yeah.
You didn't read a lot, right? But did you memorize vocabulary? Did you read the old SAT, right? Old SAT required a lot of vocabulary.
Yeah.
So how do you pass that?
How did I just...
You gotta put it in school.
I read... That's a good question. I mean, yes, vocabulary comes a lot from reading things. I guess the blogs I read did have a good deal of vocabulary. And then I also had like lists of words and their definitions that I memorized. And so remember I said make use of your downtime. I used a lot of my downtime to look at these lists, and I like also made some tracks where I recorded myself saying it and then I played it over and over when I was like doing meaningless things. So I just kind of passively absorbing the words. Another really, just for this specific tip of SAT vocab, do weird gestures with the words or think of them in really weird or shocking ways that that you remember them. Because the more shocking or the more emotional it is, the more you're going to recall it later on in your brain. For example, there were words where I thought like about hitting people or getting my hand hurt. Oh, hurting yourself is a very easy way of remembering things. Like I remember avarice, it means you're greedy. I remember this one very well because avarice, the end is rice, and when you eat too much rice, it hurts because you're full. Right? So it's just, it sounds really silly, but it works. Yeah, in the back. Oh, you can go ahead. You haven't asked any questions yet. The French activity I did, it was called Éducation Française Bay Area. It was a French summer program for middle schoolers because it was for the French community who came from all over the Bay Area who had French-speaking children, and you were only allowed to speak French. So the parents sent their kids there to get better at French. And I volunteered at the summer camp for a lot of elementary and middle school students. Yes?
Sorry, I have a question. I remember you mentioned you want to share with us more about your friends or your classmates' unhappiness today.
Sorry, there what?
You mentioned earlier, today is the last day of your high school.
Yes.
You asked specific questions. A lot of kids are not happy with, for their high school.
Yes, exactly.
You want to share more about the unhappiness?
I don't really like talking about unhappy things because they make me unhappy, but it's useful to know. Like I have a friend who I mean, they're not really unhappy, but they're just more like regretful that they didn't do more things. My friend, he loves basketball and he loves drama and acting, but unfortunately his parents don't. And he just felt very constrained, and he's done a lot of like testing and classes and stuff to get into a reasonably good college, but he's sad because he's leaving his parents now and a lot of his really good friends he's made through elementary, middle school, and high school. And he's he's like leaving them, and he's thinking, wow, why did I sometimes spend time studying instead of talking to you, or why did I not like join that play when it would have been so much fun? And I think he's gonna, once he starts going to high school, once he starts going to college, he's gonna start playing a lot more basketball, a lot more drama, and like he was just kind of sad he didn't spend more time on that kind of thing. Another friend of mine, yeah, that's like the main example I think about. What's another good friend? I mean, most of my friends, I tend to pick people that they're very motivated by their interests anyways. So a lot of them think about things the same way as I do, as being vigorous about interests that they like. So they end up being reasonably happy with their high school experience. So it's just more stories I hear and people I know of than rather close friends that I have.
Yeah, well, friends.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, because it's not all about politics.
Yeah.
So sometimes I heard so many stories. I just really want to see a parent know how important, or my daughter, who is going to be freshman this year, of the school, 4 years, and of the 4 years high school.
Yeah.
She, to me, is as happy as you are. Not only going to any college, it's been fulfilled for years.
Yes, I really hope that can be what happens, because as I mentioned again and again, I'm so happy today because I have just amazing friends who care for me and a supportive family and things that I really love to do and I have so much fun with. It's not because I got into a college, although that definitely was a big plus. I'm happy moreover for those other reasons.
Yeah, I definitely got it.
Okay. Hopefully that answered your question. Yes.
You obviously have many good friends, right? Some are older than you. How do you go around to find the good friends?
That's a hard question. I wish I could know better. I was honestly kind of lucky. I think I'll just go around and talk about all my close friends because I'm just so lucky to have these great people that happen to be in my life. My good friend Jesse, who's that guy who's at Princeton right now, and who we had the symbiotic organic chemistry college tutoring relationship with. I met him, through music. A lot of them were through music. So Jesse, he was my principal horn my freshman year, and we connected over so many things. We were very similar. I wasn't afraid to talk to him about a lot. My good friend Jane Lee was also a horn player, and Anshuman was also a horn player. So I met those people through orchestra, and I'm younger than all of them, but I took the initiative because I saw they were very kind people, very caring people. They cared to talk to me even though I was 2 years younger than them. And so I just took the initiative to try to know them better. My good friend Allison, again, through bands and through science club. She happened to be part of both of those. Tim, I met him at the bus stop. So that was kind of an exception. My good friend Pranav through science, Matt through science. So yeah, I think a lot of them are actually through activities that we shared in common. So I met a lot of them through doing music, through different band programs.
So they are all meet them in CYS or
in band, not in CYS is actually kind of hard to make connections because you only see everyone once a week. Yeah, there's actually a lot of gossip that goes on in CYS because you only see each other once a week.
So your friends are all Asians, huh?
Sorry?
Your friends are
Chinese.
Chinese or something?
Oh no, not all of them are Chinese, but most of them are Chinese, and there's a few Indian friends as well. And yeah, they all tend to share similar interests as me, which is really nice. Apart from Tim, who does other stuff.
So how much time does the music take you each week?
How much time? More. I should practice more. That's a very good question. I'm actually very lucky because as a kid, my parents did not force me to practice, so I ended up loving piano instead of hating piano. I would say I average 20 to 30 minutes practice of piano every day.
How about your French horn?
French horn, I don't practice as much as I should. I practice in the shower. So I always get it done. But I also practice a lot, like before and after rehearsals when I practice. So it's easier to practice for wind instruments. For piano, Oh, this has to do with what I mentioned about time productivity. I'm very focused when I practice, so I actually get a lot of stuff done very quickly. Like, for example, when there's a piece and there's the hardest spot, most of the time what happens when there's a piece like this is the entire piece and there's a hard spot in the middle, most people just play through the entire thing and then they're done. And oh, maybe they're almost in the practice again, so they play through the entire thing again. That's a waste of time. When I see this piece and there's a hard spot in the middle, the very first thing I do after I warm up is I play that hard spot until it's not hard anymore, right? So that way you use as little time as you can and you get as good as you can. That's how I approach practicing.
So you're?
Yeah, just sorry. Yeah. I did take an SAT class. I've heard things both ways. Kenny got a perfect score. My good friend Kenny, who's the guy that did dance, he got a perfect score without taking a class. I took a class, I did not get a perfect score. You know, it really depends on the person. I don't have much advice to say about SAT classes. Other people know more than me about that. I just took a class and it kind of helped. Yeah.
The first question is, do you declare different major when you apply to different schools? Because a lot of people are talking about all the Asian boys are all math and science. So sometimes it may not be very smart to declare the same thing when you know like 80% of the boys are all applying to the same major. So is that the science major that you apply to all the schools, including Stanford?
Okay, let me answer this question first. So it's about what major you should declare, because a lot of Asian males tend to declare similar majors. It depends on the school. You should definitely try to be weird and different if that's what you are. Like for example, me, I talked a lot about combining music and science in artistic ways because that's who I was, and that definitely made me weird. And I would say like you try to be unique, so try to avoid the very common majors. But if that common major is something that you really love, like my friend Pranav does biology, and he loves biology so much. You can get him to wake up from his sleep by saying DNA, you know, that kind of stuff. So he's fine with applying to that because he really likes it. But a good advice if you want to get into a school, I guess, is just to apply for a weird major, like the CS and linguistics one. No one's declared that major at Stanford so far, to give a sense of how uncommon it is. But I really like it.
That is a major itself?
It's a major, yeah. So for schools, some schools, you have to know your major right away when you go in, and it's difficult to change. For example, the UC schools, if you go in for, I don't know, mechanical engineering, you're leaving with mechanical engineering. You have to know before you apply. You can't change halfway through. But for other schools, such as like Stanford or Princeton, you have to declare your major at the end of your second year. So you're not locked into something when you go.
So like UC Berkeley, what do you apply for?
UC Berkeley, what did I apply for? I applied for the EECS program, Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. That's what everyone applies for. Huh?
That's the hardest.
That's the hardest one. That's what everyone applies for. I don't know why I did it, because I don't like electrical engineering. Circuits are kind of boring. My dad's going to yell at me if I say that. But yeah.
My second question was, if you spend a lot of time, or your friends, a lot of time on a sports because you like it, but you know you are not going to be a recruited athlete. So is that not worth it?
If you like it, I think it's worth it. If you...
But how do you show that on your resume if you play sports but you don't get recruited? So how does that even show on your...
Well, you can say that you were part of the sports team for a number of years.
The award-winning
sports team. And I guess, and if you really love the sport and it's one of your voices, like I know my friend Jim loves to run. I think he's crazy because I think running is boring. But running's only boring around people, but he likes running alone. He loves to run, and I feel like he probably wrote an essay about how he liked to run. So if you really want to show how much you love a sport, you write an essay about it and show your passion through there. Yeah. And you can put that.
What does the SPARK stand for?
Summer Program for Applied Rationality and Cognition.
But if I go Google online, how do I find it?
Spark Camp.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the French one?
French one is called EFBA. Éducation Française des Arts. It's a really niche thing. I'm not really sure if your kids are going to actually do it, because you have to speak French and you have to be good at helping kids to do it. I don't really think it did anything for me. It was just fun because I could speak French.
curious, which SAT class did you take?
Which, sorry?
You said you went to a SAT class before you take
Yes.
the test.
I went to Excel test prep. I don't know how it compares to the other ones because I only took that one. Yeah, so I don't have much advice on that regard. But it's nice because they have a big test bank, like a lot of test banks. And the best way to get better is to practice, take tests. Oh yes, I'm actually going to talk about this because this can, you can go on and not worry about the SAT anymore because you'll know how to be good at it, right? The best way to do these is take practice tests, go back to your wrong ones, and remember what I did when I was practicing piano? I focused on the hard questions. Don't just take practice tests and not review. Take practice tests, look at your errors, figure out exactly why you missed each one, and like make very detailed notes so that next time you won't miss it. And each time you take practice tests, you only focus on the questions that you miss. Don't focus on the questions that you know. For example, I knew I did very well on the math section, so I barely practiced the math section. It's kind of like practicing piano. So, SAT, just focus on your errors and do a lot of practice tests.
Yes, you mentioned you play piano for a long time, and why? I'm wondering if you choose, you try other instruments before you choose phone, or just somebody introduce your phone to.
This is really funny. I did try another instrument and I dropped it because I didn't like it. I played the viola for 2 or 3 years. It sounded bad and I wasn't getting good at it, and it took way too much time, so I stopped playing it. And it's also, a lot of musicians like to joke about viola players because they tend not to be very good.
Yeah.
So I tried viola for a few years and then I stopped. And I actually used to play trumpet before I played French horn. But it wasn't really that I stopped, it's that I switched to playing French horn. You can't really play both because your mouth gets messed up. Yeah.
Why you didn't choose Spanish instead of French, the second language in high school?
Because too many people took Spanish, so I took French.
Oh, that's why?
Yeah, I tried to be unique and weird because that way people remember who I am.
Okay, so it's a little bit harder to learn, I heard, compare the Spanish.
Sorry?
Probably a little harder to learn, right? Compare the Spanish.
It's, I'm not sure, because I don't know that much Spanish, so it's hard to say which one's easier to learn. It's easy to learn if you watch YouTube videos in that language. I can say that for sure.
So you learned 4 years?
I took 4, yes. My elective classes were band and French, ever since middle school, all the way through high school.
Can you take me back to the page that has the pie chart or something?
Which one?
With pie, you mentioned pie, crush pie or something.
The beginning.
Yes. Is it this one?
Thank you, yes.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Thank you.
I tried to, see, this is kind of the way I study for SAT vocab. I think of very weird analogies. It seems kind of silly, but that's how you remember everything. Yeah.
So would you recommend, like, for example, like you said you like tried business and didn't like it. So would you recommend like taking a class to like try something, or just doing it like for Limburg they have like econ or virtual business, right?
I specifically about the Limburg class, I hear bad things about it, so I wouldn't do that one. But it really depends on the class in general. For example, it depends on what kind of thing it is and how good the class is. For me, I took a cooking class this year instead of cooking at home because I knew it would be easier to learn to cook in the class than to learn to cook at home. And I ended up really liking cooking. I made a lot of good stuff this year. So it depends on the thing. If you want to try out business, there's like the clubs, right? I really don't know actually because I don't do stuff like that.
How many of the summer programs did you decide that you wanted to do, and how many did your parents decide that you wanted to do?
My parents didn't make me do anything.
Then how did you like know which ones you wanted to do?
Because I wanted to, I'll just go through each one. CY's tour, I wanted to do them because I liked people in orchestra and I liked playing music, and we just went on the tour. The French one I wanted to do because I wanted to like get better at French, and it was a nice way to do that. Spark I wanted to do because I like math and science, and it was really cool. Like the kind of people there were pretty incredible. There's one guy, a teacher who came from a fishing village in Canada of like 30 people and ended up being like a professor at UC Berkeley because he did so much. He's a cool guy. He can also sing 2 notes at the same time. Okay, Simmer, I picked this one. Well, this one was because it's a very prestigious program, so I picked that one like both because of social pressure, because a lot of my friends thought I was cool if I did it, and because I genuinely liked the CS and the biology behind it, and I went to Spark again for the same reason. So I picked summer camps that were interesting to me.
Does the summer program involve a lot of medical knowledge?
Sorry?
Does the summer program involves a lot of medical knowledge?
Yes, it's actually a medical camp. It's the Stanford Institutes of Medicine Research Summer Program. So that was actually tailored towards pre-med. And this was how I decided I didn't want to do medicine. At least as of now. So it did contain a lot of medicine knowledge. I was in one branch that was not that related, the bioinformatics branch, which was using computer science tools to analyze biology. So I didn't get that much of a taste of it. But other fields such as like stem cell research definitely had direct medical applications to the research.
So, but when you apply this summer program, you need to have some certain knowledge. What is yours?
Yes. Okay. I'll talk about this by this point because we've gone through. So this is just imagine summer programs as the college application process, except like this hasn't happened yet. So I talked about a lot of the things that I did in the top half. I was lucky to have taken the SAT early, for example, so that I could have done that. And they had essays which I approached in much the same way. I had an essay where I talked about my passion for CS since a kid, even though I only started about half a year ago. And I approached it in very much the same way that I approached my college essays. You know, I wrote something interesting, I showed my interest towards it, and in terms of activities and resumes, it's very similar to this reason.
Is your like Amy and science ball help?
Yeah, I had Amy and science ball at that point, so I think those achievements were useful.
Could you share something about your opinion or experience with Limbo? The teachers, the classes, the students,
Okay, I'm scared about sharing too many personal opinions because I have rather strong opinions on some things, but in general, there's a lot of parts of that question about about my opinions about teachers, students, and Lynbrook. That I feel the teachers, there's a huge variety of teachers. Some teachers are incredible. Like for example, my English teacher this year and last year, she was like a very inspiring motherly figure to me. She made me just appreciate like artistic things a lot more, and she taught me a lot of useful life lessons. On the other hand, some teachers are pretty terrible. For example, we have this government teacher who's tenured, and we go into his class and we don't start until 5 minutes later, you know, and then during our final exam, he was waving the answers in front of us, saying, "Oh, here's how you're supposed to fill it out. Oh, don't look at it." You know, he doesn't do. I've never actually learned anything from that class because he has his tenure and he doesn't really care about the students. So there's that range of teachers that just really don't teach anything, and then there's the teachers that really care about and love their students. Our new chemistry teacher, Mr. Leung, is a phenomenal teacher. I'm great friends with him. He just wants the best out of every student and wants them to understand chemistry. So there's really the whole range for teachers. Students, again, I don't really know because I choose my friends very carefully and I talk to very few people. So I have a pretty biased sense. I think my opinion of people at Lynbrook is better than it actually is because I pick the best people to talk to, that is for me. But in general, I feel like people are just kind of overly stressed out about a lot of things and it's kind of unhealthy, but I don't really know how to help people out. Well, I do know how to help people out, not be so worried about everything. It's by doing talks like this and sharing good things with everyone. But in general, I feel people are kind of just worried and unhealthy, and especially those big groups of people in the quad is kind of unhealthy and toxic to be around. So that's why I chose the friends I did. And what else? What other questions about it?
Well, more good teachers I would like to hear. I know the bad ones you don't want to mention.
The good
teachers, the good ones, like the English teacher, your chemistry teacher.
Yeah, the other good teachers I've had.
Did you feel pretty good?
Those were the two best teachers I've had. I haven't had all the teachers, so.
What's your English teacher name?
Miss McCown. Actually, all the English teachers are very good. I've had me and my two best friends. Actually, there's 3 AP literature teachers, and each of me and my 2 friends have a different English teacher, and we all really enjoy our English class. So I think all the English teachers, all the AP literature teachers are really good. Yeah.
School is not is to make friends, not to start it, to learn something.
Not my English class. My English class, I paid attention 100% every day because the class was so good. Yeah. Is there any other questions about?
In order to get a better GPA, did you take regular classes more, or did you take more honor or AP classes?
I was personally able to handle a lot of the honors and AP rigor, so I took a good deal of those classes. There are some people who try to keep their GPA up by taking the lower level classes rather than like the higher level classes. I personally didn't really do that, but I didn't take every single possible AP because I knew some of them I wouldn't enjoy. For example, history, I don't really enjoy it, so I didn't take that one. I did take cooking this year, and which I guess was an easy A. I was gonna take AP computer science instead of it, but I took cooking instead because I would enjoy it more. You can also see that as boosting up my GPA if you notice it that way.
You have a perfect GPA, yeah?
Yes, I do. So I'm kind of lucky. I was very close to not having one at many points. I was kind of lucky for once.
One more question for your major in Stanford, the linguistic and then the computer science. You said there's a joint program. Is this program from 2 departments, or there's a special?
There's 2 departments working together, and there's some special classes for the major. And it's actually part of a larger program at Stanford, which is really cool. It's called CS plus X, where X is any humanity. So it's stuff like CS plus English, CS plus history, which I don't like, CS plus art history, CS plus French, CS plus English, CS plus like Latin studies, CS plus gender studies, a lot of different combinations of things.
So other than Stanford, you mentioned some other colleges also do this interdisciplinary training.
Yeah.
Any school name you can remember?
I know Carnegie Mellon has a nice like a dual kind of thing. I'm not really sure actually, but I think this is where you do college research and figure out.
Sure.
Yes.
Your cooking class is 1 semester or
2 semesters. It was a lot of fun. I really liked it.
So I thought you need to choose the classes before 12th grade. So you add a new class.
So I chose it here. I chose it at the end of my 11th grade.
Yeah. So you changed that.
So, there's time until your class selections are final. So, I originally signed up for computer science, but then I changed it before the final deadline.
So you took 1 semester's AP computer?
No, I took 2 semesters of cooking.
Oh, okay.
If you go to Lynbrook, I kind of advise taking cooking because it's a lot of fun and the teacher is really nice. Any other questions or anything?
For example, if you are interested in like 2 subjects like English and computer science, and can you write this part in your essay just to say that I'm really interested in these 2 subjects, and then you have a combined program, and that's why I think I fit into your culture well.
That's exactly what you wrote. That's exactly what I wrote. Yeah, it's a very convincing thing to write.
Thank you.
So the AP test, do you think it's useful?
AP test? I don't know. If you take the course, you take the test. If some people like to take extra tests without taking the courses, I did for a few things like music theory, but I don't really know. I'm not sure. It can't hurt you, but if you take too much time doing it, it could hurt you. So I don't really know.
Did you take a lot of tests?
I took AP music theory by myself, and I think that's the only one I took by myself.
But for the school classes and...
I took for every school class that was an AP class, I took the corresponding test.
And what's the most AP numbers that students take from your school? You know?
I don't know. Some people try to take everything. But as I mentioned repeatedly, it's not going to help you much more beyond a certain point. It's kind of like, once you pass a point, it doesn't really matter anymore. I try to think of a good, silly analogy, but I can't think of one. Yes?
So you broke up with a girlfriend in sophomore?
Oh, yeah, that was a long story. That was probably a very bad decision. But I guess I learned some stuff from that. Yeah, I was very younger and more immature a few years ago.
So how about now?
Now, not yet. Unfortunately, not yet. Yes.
So
Yes.
did you visit schools before you applied?
Did I,
For those
sorry?
schools?
Did I visit schools?
Yeah.
I was supposed to, but I didn't. I actually did. I visited one school, Princeton, that I ended up applying to, but I didn't really. I think it's a good idea to visit them. I feel I would have made better decisions, or it definitely doesn't hurt you to go visit them. I would advise that. I wasn't able to do it myself, unfortunately, because remember this summer, I had an 8-week program and a 2-week program, and summer was only 10 weeks, so I couldn't go anywhere then.
How many schools admitted you?
How many schools admitted me? I'm not very comfortable sharing that information, but I was accepted into a good deal of UC schools and Stanford, and like a few other private schools. Yes.
So Stanford early decision or early admission?
Stanford has a early action program.
Early action.
So you can, which means it's a restricted early action, which means if you apply there early, you cannot apply anywhere else early, and if you get in there early, you don't have to go there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you did do the EA. Did you do the EA or did you
Do the regular?
Sorry?
did you do the early action or?
I did the early one for Stanford. Yes. Early ones tend to have higher acceptance rates, and it shows that you're more interested in that school.
You know, I kind of feel like your school course selection doesn't really show your passion, but just, you know, help you build up your fundamentals. But actually, the outside activities actually help you to show your passion.
That's very
Is that
true.
right?
Very true. Because a lot of the time, school courses are a lot more limited than what you actually are interested in.
You still have a good GPA, at least. 2300 on the